Hello? Are we all here? We have some people in the chat? Can I get a hello in the chat? It's been a very quiet day otherwise. We have Horus Heresy. I think that's a meow. That's totally different. Hello. It's been a very quiet day, and then Horus Heresy is coming? That could be interesting. Ah, the great everyone summoned you. Wonderful to hear. Very clever, Bilbo Stomper. Hello in the cat. If there's going to be meowing, we'll have a hello in the cat. Oh, there'll be so many things. Possibly. I just hope it's good. Games Workshop is currently having a tournament in Dallas at the moment. And if I know where Dallas is, it's usually Dallas, Texas. There may be other Dallas places, but I'm assuming this one's in Texas and it's an American thing and they're playing Warhammer in America. How very dare they? And Games Workshop's covering that and was going to do an event based around Dallas, like, oh, come and see the shiny new things. That'll be great. It's maybe not going to be great. It's not going to happen. That's an event that's not going on. Maybe the only thing they had to show off was the Horus Heresy drop site preview. And so if it was just that, maybe they were like, you know, we'll just stick one thing. And then that's it. And we can't really call that a big Warhammer reveal. They like doing big Warhammer reveal events. But there's like 1,000 people waiting to watch this preview in half an hour. I do appreciate that it's not 3 AM for me, so I can talk like a normal person instead of having to whisper in my microphone, otherwise the very thin walls will mean my neighbors shout at me, and because I'm being too loud and enthusiastic about the Warhammers, which of course everyone is at 3 AM. Everyone is very enthusiastic. This is the one time Tactical Marines are okay. Valoran, they are always okay. And I hope the Tactical Marines, they should do well. Tactical Marines should do well. They do pretty good with their bolt guns. They do alright with other weapons as well. So this whole thing coming in looks like it's going to be a new edition of Horus Heresy. I don't see why it wouldn't be. How excited are people for new Horus Heresy? A little bit, a lot. Trepidation, not happy. When I talked to people at my local club about Horus Heresy, their general feeling was, oh, please don't change it, it's basically fine. There's a little bit of the whole arms race when it's, well, do you go mass deep strike? But if someone goes mass anti-deep strike, then they lose. So everyone takes mass anti-deep strike unless they are deep striking, in which case there is no deep strike, so there's no reason to take mass anti-deep strike stuff, so you're wasting points, and then someone... It was like a weird rock, paper, scissors thing of deep strike, anti-deep strike, and playing normally. It's very strange that they had that, but that was like a meta thing. On a normal gameplay sense, it seems to be good. People generally like the 6th edition, 7th edition kind of rules that they've continued with. Oh, I like the idea that 11th edition replaces intercessors with a new tactical squad. Oh, yeah. I like it, C.R. Smith. I like it. I can see that happening. Like, what if we renamed them? Oh, no, they need Latin names, though. They need pretend Latin names. So you won't have tactical squads, you'll have intercessor variable squads. Ooh, adaptive intercessor squads. Tactical intercessors? Could get away with tactical intercessors. There we go. And assault intercessors on foot and assault intercessors with jump packs. Yeah. It's like the older editions where you added a jump pack. Ah, Tacticus, of course. Tacticus intercessors, because they're in Tacticus armor. Makes sense. Totally makes sense. I don't know what big rules changes there would be for Horus Heresy. I can't imagine anything in particular being like, oh, we need to swing for this. This is so over or underpowered. It's not like in 40k where we have fortifications that are awful and, say, flyers which are awful. And regular infantry are good. Transports are very good. I like these ideas. So Horus has once again done a heresy. What they could change up is vehicle rules. Dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts are too powerful in Horus Heresy. They could tone it back a bit on the Dreadnoughts. Or they can have more general vehicle rules. Like, instead of using like 3 wounds for a Land Raider, because it is very much based on like the 6th, 7th edition version of tanks, where it's kind of hard to hit them, but they've only got a couple of wounds. Maybe they could go for, we'll have normal profiles, and doesn't matter if it's a monster. I don't think they really have many monsters in Horus Heresy, but it doesn't matter if it's a vehicle or a regular infantry guy, they have a toughness value, a save, and a wounds characteristic, much as they currently have in 10th edition and 7th edition, no, not 7th edition, and 9th edition and 8th edition of 40k. Tanks are units. It just took them a few editions to figure out that toughness 7 isn't strong enough for a tank. Lifting the threshold, the arbitrary threshold of maximum of 10 for a toughness value, has done wonders for the game. Oh, you think it's going to be not Horus Heresy, but the Unification War? That's why you have the Saturnine Terminators, and you also have the Disintegrator weapons. Maybe. I mean, I don't have Saturnine Terminators, however, I have the very first edition of Space Hulk, where the Terminators in that look basically identical to the Saturnine Terminators, just not as big on the shoulder pads. I'm sure I can get some add-on shoulder pads and there you go, it's done. But they're looking like the weird waddling dudes that waddled back and forth like this in the Fifth Element film. Like, we are aliens, we are friendly aliens, we have come with enlightenment. We struggle with basic motor functions though. I hope that's not a problem. Yeah, Thunder Warriors, Techno Barbarians, people would love them as like anything. Have them as cultists, cool cultists, have them as your wolfmen. If you play Space Wolves, you're pretty alright as Space Wolves. They seem to have good rules, they seem to have good models. A reduction in the number of their units. There's no more Wolf Scouts, you use regular Scouts. There's no more Long Fangs. You use Devastator Squads, maybe, unless they're kicked out. There is currently a restriction on Devastator Squads, so that might change. I expect that'll change. I need to make a note on that. I expect that'll change in the balance patch. Dev Marines allowed for Space Wolves. I have predictions on that. Predictions for Imperial and Chaos Knights? I think they'll continue to exist. I don't think there's too much you can do. Even the detachments, I don't think they'll be that varied. Maybe one that focuses on the big ones, maybe one that focuses on the small ones. Are they doing 5 or 6 detachments per book? Because I can barely think of getting 3, and one of them's a Grotmus detachment. That's like the max. They took your Stormwolf? Oh no, That's sad that one of your models hasn't got legend rules yet. Presumably will, and then it'll keep going. That's okay, you can keep playing with legend rules. Otherwise it's sad to be like, yeah, this flyer that's big and was expensive is now gone. Oh yeah, you could do a fast one, a gun-based one, a combat-based one. The Knights already have quite an endurance-based one with their Feel No Pain, and if you complete your duty, then you get change your 6-up Feel No Pain to a 5-up Feel No Pain. Is this live? I'm live, yes. This is me actually talking to you, Wen Bintan. And then also in 17 minutes, there's going to be the drop site preview. Now what I'm thinking is, assuming new edition of Horus Heresy, is that going to be providing lots more models for 40k Space Marine players? Because the previous Horus Heresy starter set came with a character in big bulky armor with a big axe, great for Death Guard players and anyone who played World Eaters. There's your Executioner with a big axe. You also get another character in fancy armor with a big sword. There was like 30 Space Marines, beaky Space Marines. I've got some of them, and I use them with my Death Watch because I wanted more beaky Marines. Good way to mix it up. And yeah, if you got 10 guys with just bolt guns, and in the Death Watch sprues, you have like 15 pairs of arms for a sprue for 5 people, maybe more, you can definitely make a lot more Deathwatch Marines out of some basic Deathwatch guys. Or the Land Raider. I have seen the Land Raider that was in that starter set so many times. It is the Land Raider that everyone has. It's got 2 quad las cannons, the heavy bolter on the front. Yeah, that's the basic Land Raider that everyone uses, unless they have the Flamer version, but that's not one from the Horus Heresy. I was also tempted to get a Land Raider, but I think I don't need a Land Raider. I'm happy with my lighter transports that aren't 250 points-ish. It's part of the problem I can see Games Workshop having is, hey, what if we have totally separate things with the Horus Heresy weapons are one, and then the 40k weapons are another, and they try and get rid of this middle ground thing of, what about tactical squads? I don't see there being any reason for them to do that, because unless you are the most hard-bitten tournament player that wants everything like the box art, you could just use the 30k Marines, and it would look good. I think that'd be fine. You can just keep using them between the two systems. Land Raiders indeed. Thank you for the Land Raider fund. I will consider Land Raiders. We'll see what comes out in this coming starter set. It may be Saturnine Terminators, which are of course very different to any other kind of Terminator. Mainly the big shoulder pads. The Dark Angels characters like the big shoulder pads, if I remember. One of them is like that. It may have just been a conversion I've seen. Land Raiders are good for Terminators? Yes. I'm also more partial to having them deep strike if I want them in a place, or walking up the board isn't always too bad. They often have quite a lot of toughness. It isn't like previous editions where they had 1 wound, so failing a 2+ save was enough to kill them, and they had the same toughness 4 as any other Marine. It kinda sucked when that happened, but you could do that. Ooh, you got the old version of the Thousand Suns Combat Patrol. Someone's getting Zangors. Yeah, Land Raiders for Blade Guard veterans. There's a lot of things you can put in there. 10 Death Watch veteran Marines could be good. Oh, they're on the starting soon screen. Okay. Yeah, the Land Raider gives them the ability to disembark and charge after the Land Raider has moved. So you can go kind of far with that. Especially for the slower moving, say, Centurions. If we have any Centurion fans in the chat, just let me know and I'll get the ban button ready. Ban them. Oh yeah, Lucius and some Flawless Blades. Or just the Flawless Blades, because they're relatively squishy. People think that they need a boost come the balance patch. I could see that. I've played against them and it was fun to have them try and stab a tank and be like, aha, I wound your tank on a 3+, but if I don't kill the tank, one of my Flawless Blades will die. That's a really fun mechanic. I think that's good. You like the heavy intercessors. Heavy intercessors work. They are perfectly fine. So I'm looking forward to what the starter set is going to be for the new Horus Heresy. What about drop pods? Now, are they going to do any drop pods? This is the drop side preview. That suggests that there should be some drop pods. What do we do about drop pods? They're going to look very different to the 40k drop pods. Because the 40k drop pods have rubble around them, and their doors are open, and they look very big. And I don't know if that's going to work on the tabletop. It may be, hey, here's your area of space around terrain where you can land, or you just have to land with the drop pod basically in the middle of the table, and it's like you're infiltrating, but you're paying a lot of points to have a unit basically infiltrate. And that again relies on you going first. If the enemy pushes up and you go second, your drop pod may not be in a good place because of its size. Make drop pods dedicated transports. I mean, they should be already. I would be surprised if they're not. Because the idea would then be you have to have a unit start inside. Drop pods. Yeah, they're not dedicated transports. They probably should be, otherwise you can just have random drop pods dropping from the sky without anyone inside. And that doesn't seem right. We'll be getting a new roadmap. Oh, I don't know if there'll be a new non-insulting roadmap. That may be a hey, maybe something for the Mechanicus, but not viable for 40k. Not viable for 40k, but something for the Mechanicus somewhere down the line. Ooh, wasn't there also... No, I don't think there'll be anything extra. There hasn't been a Horus Heresy video game. They announced lots of new video games yesterday. There was nothing Horus Heresy, if I remember. That's something they might want to fix. Possibly. Possibly fix. Well, I'd say fix. It could be something they do in the future, if Horus Heresy takes off enough. The tabletop Monopoly game. Oh no. They had Talisman, and people in the chat were like, is this Monopoly? And it's like, no, it's obviously Talisman. Do people not know Talisman? Have you never heard about Talisman before? Talisman's been around for like 40 years. It's a great game. Talisman is utterly brilliant. Everyone should play Talisman. But I saw from the video games yesterday, yeah, there's a lot of mobile games that people are very less interested in. There's Bolt Gun, the typing game. I kind of enjoy typing games. I'm on like 45 words per minute is my average typing speed. Oh no, people have never heard of Talisman. You should definitely look up Talisman board game. It's a great game. It's one of the best games ever. They barely ever needed to change the rules, but they've added like werewolf talisman and other stuff. It's like great fantasy stuff. You start on the board, you are one of the characters, a Skaven, just a generic Skaven, a mercenary, a Minotaur, I don't know, a Templar, a regular Knights Templar in fantasy world. You walk around the whole place, you might encounter a witch and get turned into a frog. It's fun. And there's expansions to like explore the crypts and the city, and you can get beaten up by the jailer. You can randomly meet the king and give him money, and he just takes the money. He's not like, oh yes, I was pretending to be a beggar. You are so kind. You're now my champion. No, it's just, I'm the king, actually. This is my money now. This is how I collect taxes. This is my life. What, you've never sat by the side of the road and pretended to be a beggar? Ha, well, you're a loser. I'm king. Great fun. Horus Heresy Talisman. That could be good. Of the video games that they did mention and sort of show off, I think the new Dark Heresy will be my favorite, because taking roleplay games and then making it a computer roleplay game makes it much easier to play. I have been playing a lot of Dark Heresy, well, I've played it a bit across the years. It's fun to be like, hey, I'm an Inquisitorial Acolyte, I'm gonna die now. That's a good one. Now, Horus Heresy, it might be, you get the choices, you can do, oh, I'm gonna be Puritan, I'm gonna be radical, I'm gonna do my best. Or maybe you find that even the most radical things are not radical enough for me. Even the most Puritan things of like, well, what if we killed everyone that was here? Isn't quite enough. We need to find additional people to kill. So that's the worry. Yeah, oh yeah, we don't know what they're going to do with Dreadnoughts. Maybe they'll do something with Dreadnoughts in the Horus Heresy range. They could expand Custodes, because Custodes belong in the Horus Heresy, along with the Sisters of Silence. That is very much their home, and then they're also present in 40k and have an army, but it's, unless you count the Forge World units, there's about 3 or 4 different kits. An infantry squad of Custodes, the bikes, the Dreadnought you can kind of count, and the Sisters of Silence. That's around it. Yeah, I remember that whole thing after the First War of Armageddon when everyone was enslaved, killed, or sterilized. It was a nice war we had between the Inquisition and the Space Wolves. Ah, good times. I wonder if they'll make any mention of the previous Wars of Armageddon in the upcoming Crusade Armageddon book. I don't know when that's on sale. Hopefully soon. The mission deck, the new mission deck that's coming out, is going to be on sale on the 7th. Well, properly on sale. Yeah, on the 7th of June. Pre-orders tomorrow. If you want to look at the affiliate links I have in the description, see if you can get it. Well, just get it. Games Workshop runs out quickly of these mission decks, and you should be able to get it cheaper than going through Games Workshop to get these mission decks, which is going to be the main way to play 40k for like the next year, maybe a year and a half, until the end of the edition. Because we're expecting the end of 40k 10th edition around the end of May 2026. And then they'll start showing off, hey, this is what 11th edition is going to be, and it's probably going to be very similar to 10th edition. Yeah. And then all of the videos I have about 10th edition that I haven't made, I'll just be like, well, they go in the bin now. There wasn't enough time, because we have 3 years of editions. Same for like, well, Horus Heresy. 3 years of a Horus Heresy edition is about all you get. And then you hope that that's enough. We also have the balance patch coming. We don't know exactly when it's coming, but presumably either a few days before or a few days after the mission deck comes out. Because they'll want to, in theory, try and balance the current system with the points and the units around what the new mission deck's going to have. Have they revealed why Armageddon is getting another war? They are thinking it's a continuation of the 3rd war for Armageddon, rather than the 4th war for Armageddon. When we had in, like, the start of 8th edition, the Cicatrix Maledictum opened up, then loads of Khorne demons appeared in Armageddon, and so it was a 3-way war between the Orcs, led by Ghazghkull, but Ghazghkull had left by then, the Defenders of Armageddon, led by, like, the Armageddon Steel Legion and Yarrick, but Yarrick had died by then. And also then we have the Blood Angels. No, not the Blood Angels. Blood Angels are helping. Blood Angels are helping in Armageddon. But the World Eaters, which are the ones that want blood. Yeah. Then they were in a 3-way war, and now Angron's turned up, and so the Grey Knights have turned up again to banish Angron again. But rather than it being for 1,000 years this time, it'll be for, what, 8 months, 8 weeks, 8 days, 8 hours, 8 minutes, 8 seconds. 8 nanoseconds. But because they don't have Steel Legion models, they're using the Death Corps of Krieg. And probably Cadians. Yeah, I'm expecting the next balance patch maybe the 5th of June, or like the 9th or 10th of June, around then. Then it'll be like, okay, here's your new balance patch to go with your models. Not models, your new cards. Balance patch with the cards. And on the 7th, they're going to be releasing the Tournament Companion for that, which I've seen the preview of, and it's mainly take a bunch of cards, in fact most of the cards, not quite all of the cards, but pretty much all of the cards, and throw them in the bin. The ones that are left are the ones you play the game with. Primarch Yarrick. I think he'll just be dead. I don't actually think the Harlequins will get any more models soon. I was surprised they had such an expansion in, like, 7th edition to have transports and jet bikey things of their own. Otherwise, I was fine with just a troop and 2 or 3 characters. Good time for a Catchan refresh? Yeah, they could definitely. Of all of the regiments that are still sold, which I think is just Catachan, Cadian, and Krieg, they are the ones that could do with the biggest revamp. And in the jungles of Armageddon, you have the Armageddon Orc Hunters, who are really good at killing, like, feral orcs. 11th edition Catachan refresh, I think they might delay it a bit longer and it might be like 12th edition. Was it the end of 9th edition the refresh for the Cadians? And then the middle of 10th edition Krieg? Okay, it might be next edition. Could be. Have the orcs avenged old Balai yet? We don't know how Yarrick died. It's apparently from old age. Presumably. As he was like penning his diary and his memoirs and biography. Well, autobiography. So I think he's meant to have died relatively peacefully. The one like trailer thing we got about him showed him being very old. Oh, we could have Living Saint Yarrick, but for the Battle Sisters. Reverse Star Wars, somehow Yarrick didn't return. I can see that happening. It's okay. Sometimes you just have to let characters die. And as a death, dying of old age is a pretty cool thing to do in the Imperium of Man. Then it's all fine. Caiaphas Cain as the only peaceful death? I can see that. Yeah. Everyone else just has to keep fighting forever, especially the Space Marines. A lot of them just disappear. Like Lucas the Trickster, I don't think he's going to get mentioned in the new Space Wolf Codex, so he's just somewhere in the background. Maybe he's going to end up in like another novel.
For nearly 40 years, the Horus Heresy has underpinned the lore of the Warhammer 40,000 setting. A once mysterious reference has grown and evolved to become one of the best-loved aspects of the entire Warhammer hobby, spawning multiple games, a best-selling series of novels, and of course, many hundreds of glorious Warhammer miniatures. And here's how it all began. 1987. The Horus Heresy appears as a snippet of text, squirreled away in the Book of the Astronomicon, a supplement for Rogue Trader. 1988. The tabletop battle game Adeptus Titanicus.
That wasn't like the main Civil War. It was the Badab War was the main Civil War in the first edition.
The game is set within the Horus Heresy. In the following year, Space Marine, another epic-scale game, emerges, putting the warriors of the Legiones Astartes on the battlefield in massive numbers. 2003. The Horus Heresy collectible card game debuts. It features many hundreds of illustrations of the Horus Heresy on the game cards, and also details the events of the Heresy through lore included within the packs.
Can we hear it all okay?
2006. Black Library embarks on the ambitious plan to tell the events of the Horus Heresy in fiction. This best-selling series goes on to include 54 volumes from many of the greatest writers ever to handle Warhammer fiction.
Thanks, Necromancer Goblin.
Forge World unleashes the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness, along with an accompanying range of incredible new miniatures depicting the heroes, warriors, and war machines of the Heresy. 2015. The Betrayal at Calth board game, including the first new plastic models for the Horus Heresy in a generation. 2018, the setting returns to its roots as the Warhammer Studio unveils a new edition of Adeptus Titanicus. 2019, the galaxy-spanning story told through the Horus Heresy novels reaches its peak, culminating in the Siege of Terror series. 2022, a new edition of the Horus Heresy game is released, Warhammer, the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness. Boasting incredible new plastic kits and refreshed rules, this edition reaches more fans than ever before. 2023, Legions Imperialis bursts onto the scene, allowing battles between the Legiones Astartes, the Titan Legions, and more.
It's a shame that that's too expensive as well.
On truly incredible modular battlefields. And that brings us to today, the 23rd of May, 2025. Welcome to this Warhammer preview and the celebration of the Horus Heresy.
Okay, we're celebrating.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special Warhammer preview. My name is Adam Troke. I'm joined by my colleague and friend Eddie Eccles.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to talk about Horus Heresy.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody, to the Warhammer, the Horus Heresy drop site preview. We're here for about an hour or so to give you the lowdown on a load of amazing new Horus Heresy reveals. before we do,
Yeah,
I
those
should
early
introduce
games were
the
not
third member
really
of our broadcast
sold
team.
much
Let's
outside
throw
the
camera
UK.
over to the Lawmaster Alex Doddy in Question Corner.
So it's fine if you haven't heard of them.
So because we're live today, we are going to be taking questions. However, there are many thousands of you in the chat. So if you put questions all in caps at the start, I've got a better chance of catching it.
Ooh, he's wanting people to capitalize in the chat.
The way this is going to work is we have
bad
absolutely
idea.
loads of great Horus Heresy stuff to show you. We've got some videos, we've got some pictures of some new miniatures. We might have a little bit of a discussion about rules, loads of really good Heresy stuff. So stay tuned, there's loads of stuff. If you're a fan of Horus Heresy already, you're in for a treat. If you are new to the Horus Heresy and are Horus Heresy curious, you are very welcome, and we hope you find an
Horus
amazing
Heresy
setting
curious
and
is a
game
weird
to
way to
enjoy.
phrase it.
Now we can see the chat is busily filling up, so while everybody files in and gets their space ready for the drop site preview, it's always worth just doing a couple of questions out there. And my first question, I always like to ask this when we're doing a preview, is where in the world are you tuning in from? If you could let us know in the chat, it's always good to get a sense of where the Warhammer community is piling in
Well,
from. We'll get,
for the way
Alex
people
to,
are,
give us the lowdown
for like
on where
the
you're
times
from.
it is,
It's always nice to know.
Yeah, and
people
just while
in the
you're
United States are going to
introducing
be at
yourselves in the
work.
chat, Adam, have you got any Horus Heresy hobby on
People
your
in
table
like
at the moment?
Japan
So
and
this is the
Australia,
golden
it's
question, right? So
nighttime.
I have a Horus Heresy
It's like
army.
3 or
I do
4
First
a.m.
Legion Dark Angels,
So
I do more
mostly
or less
the UK
everything.
and
I've got
Europe
about
is what they're going to
2,000
get.
points of them. But I'm having a bit of an existential crisis because I want to try something new. You will see I'm repping Iron Warriors colours today because I think I fancy trying some Iron Warriors. But the jury is out, so possibly if you've got a
When Plastic
legion that you
Cerastos
recommend,
Atrophos
in
Knight,
the
is
chat,
that the one
shout
that's
it out.
horse-shaped?
Maybe hear some suggestions through the course of the show.
If you think Adam should choose Iron Warriors, or if you think there's another legion that would be better suited for him, by all means, pipe up in the chat. I myself have got some white scars on the hobby table at the moment. I've never painted a white army before, so I'm quite looking forward to it.
Oh,
You
he's
often
painting
paint white,
white.
don't you?
I
That's
always end up
like
kind of
the second
gravitating
worst
towards
colour
the
to
guy
paint
in,
after yellow.
Black armor, because they've
I know, because I have
some pretty
a
cool choices
Battle
out there.
Sisters in white.
But I thought I'd try white scars.
And I
because
have
the colour
Imperial
scheme, I think,
Fists in
is
yellow.
Very cool, and I like the idea of lots of guys on jet bikes flying around.
Perfect. Well, you've had a few minutes. Let's go over to Alex and find out where everybody's calling in from.
From every corner of the world, America, Brazil, Switzerland, Sweden, Australia, a couple of people from Nottingham, plenty of people from over in the Dallas Open.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, all over.
Well,
they seem to think
that's
that you should
insightful.
probably stick with Dark Angels.
Stick with the Dark Angels. I mean, why break the habit
We'll
of
see
a
how you
lifetime?
feel at the end of the preview, shall we?
Yeah.
If
When
anything
Ferrus
that we
Manus
show
heads
maybe
model.
sways you towards a certain allegiance or otherwise.
I like
We'll
it.
see if they
I
actually
see
come up
change
with
of
something like
painting
that. That would be
technique,
interesting.
we shall see. Yeah, thanks. And it's really
Maybe
great
they
to
can
have
do it
you,
as like an
wherever
April
you're from.
Fool things,
We
and
love it
then
when the
Iron
Warhammer
Hands
community
Warriors will
feels
be.
truly global. So
No.
this is a special time.
Yeah,
for us.
they'll be sad forever.
Right. So, I guess what we should do is Eddie's already said how the run of this thing's going to go.
See,
Over the next
I see.
hour or so, we're going to preview all sorts of
An
great
hour?
Horus Heresy content. There'll be
With
some reveals
plenty of
things that
chatting
you've
in
never seen
between.
before.
They managed to do
And,
all
it
of
should
this
be
stuff
a very
yesterday in
exciting
like
time for
30
everybody.
minutes.
But what better way to kick off a preview like this than with a brand new animated cinematic trailer?
Ooh, show me the trailer.
I was there when he painted this.
Artistic.
An oddity among his schematics and calculations. Yet, this seemed to help him. A way he could express the enormity of his plan.
Magnetizable head and hand. Dawn's hand.
Not if the legions are successful. It depends on how deep the rot goes.
Okay. The rot. Nice head. Predator tanks, good. Well, not Predator tanks, something like the Predator tanks. There's your Land Raider. Ooh, that was kind of cool. Disintegration weapons, combi melters. I like it. Cool battle scene. There's your Terminators. Terminators, tactical squads. We're disintegrating people. That's Dreadnought with a big cannon. So I assume it's around Istvan. Istvan 3?
How many?
Half of the legions now stand with Horus.
You're surprised?
In the end, I suppose not. Do you wonder if they might be right? Many will sympathize with their rebellion.
I am the Emperor's spear. What I think doesn't matter.
What now, then?
We make ready for a war that may never end.
Oh, he knows that the 30k will turn into the 40k, which turns into the 50k. Nice.
What an incredible way to kickstart the announcement of a new edition of Warhammer Horus Heresy.
So that looked
Eddie,
like
what can you tell
it
us about the
was
trailer?
Istvan
Absolutely.
3.
So that was the
and it
brand
was,
new
the
Horus Heresy
Sons of
cinematic
Horus
trailer,
against the Iron Warriors.
announcing the new edition of Warhammer the Horus Heresy and the new box set, which is on its way, which is Saturnine. Very cool. And before we
it has templates.
Talk too much about this box set, let's just take a moment to have a chat about what we just saw in that cinematic trailer. Lots of very cool stuff there, from the Palace of Terror to the Black Sands of Istvan. We saw some new units we've never seen in action before, some new characters, some new places we've never been before. Adam, did you have a take?
Yeah, I do. And it might be a surprise or not, depending on how you felt about the trailer.
Shame
but
about
for me,
their
it's the
microphones.
Iron Warrior Centurion. He's the star of the show, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely owning his ground. Brilliant ambush against the Salamanders, and then charging off to take on the Saturnine Dreadnought. Amazing.
Oh, it
Loved
was Salamanders, not Sons of Horus.
Seeing Terror was
Okay.
very cool.
Yeah.
So
It's the
we've
green.
never been
They're
there
just
before. We've never
two
kind
different
had
shades of
glimpses
green.
of it outside of the excellent fiction from Black Library, of course. But a chance to see the Imperial Palace.
The scale of it.
Yeah.
Valdar stabbing
when you
Abaddon,
have that
but
shot
he only
over
stabbed
Malkador's
Abaddon
shoulder,
later.
and you can see
It
in the
was
distance there's like a
far
little
later than this is set,
ship
because this
flying
is all
along
the
it, and
Istvan
that's
stuff.
like
I
half a
assume.
kilometre long in its own right. Just amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I think definitely
Istvan 3 was the purging of the heretics within, no, the loyalists within the heretic legions. Istvan 5 was the Dropsite massacre. So yeah, it being
But the trailer is only, of
Salamanders
course,
against
the
Iron
herald
Warriors makes more
of,
sense.
Greater Things, which is the brand new edition of Warhammer the Horus Heresy, launching with this new box, Saturnine.
Well,
exciting.
Obviously
this is just the
never seen
Custodes
before.
reading
Yeah,
the script.
you'll have never seen this anywhere ever. Any rumours would have just been hearsay, I imagine.
Okay, so you have
should we
three
do the
different
honours?
greens.
There we go.
Three
And,
different legions.
nothing to say.
That makes sense.
It is a heavy, hefty box, and you can see it is absolutely packed to the brim with plastics.
Just
There is
show us a
loads
picture of the
new stuff
models
in
that
there.
come in it. Then we can see
There are
that there's a
few things that will
Dreadnought,
just cover off the
Terminators,
bat, right? It
a
has
bunch
a
of
Ranger,
tactical
and that will probably come
marines.
as a surprise to nobody. And it does have, if you are a fan of the
I
Horus
also like the
Heresy
Sisters of
game,
Silence.
you will already be familiar with these. But it has blast markers and my favourite, the Flamer
It's nice to
template.
see them doing
Great
their,
for
like,
dealing with the
Salamanders fans will
enemy.
enjoy that.
Anybody who likes setting fire to the enemy.
Dive in, right? So the first
talking
new plastics.
with their
this
hands.
is a Mark II Crusade armor Space Marines. There
Oh,
are
right.
4 of these frames in the box, and each
Mark
one of these
II
boxes
Crusade
makes you
armor.
10 Crusade armor Space Marines. As you can tell, they are gloriously multi-part with loads of different options available. You can build them in a variety of different ways. The ones on the screen right now
Interesting.
are made up as tactical legionaries.
I'm not so
these
sure
are
on the
guys you
chest
have
pieces.
kicking around
It
in
looks
big
like they've
squads
got
firing
big
lots of bolter
naturals.
shots. And these are kind of the line troopers, Crusade armor, named of course after its performance in the Great Crusade.
Yeah, absolutely. And this
it's
is an
nice to have
iconic
a
silhouette
different
for
kind of,
any Space Marine Legion
You know,
force.
Space Marine armor.
As you said, there are 40 tactical legionaries in this box, and you can build them in different ways. In a moment, we'll shift you over, and you'll be able to see some of the other options that come.
Very fancy,
there you
nice
go.
for Iron Warriors, Iron Hands.
One of the things that this set contains is obviously all the
disintegrator
command options you
weapons.
need for your Vexilla
I mean,
and
the
your
poses. If you look at that second guy along,
yeah, and
that looks
Vox.
exactly
So
like the Mark 6
everything
armor.
you need to make
There's
full
a guy in the
squads.
exact same
And
pose,
quite excitingly,
with the exact
they
same
also
chain
contain
blade.
some special weapons. I have a
I'm
frame
not so
here
keen
if
on that.
you want to have a look at it, or maybe we'll put them up on the screen.
They're probably going to be Primaris
So
scale.
these are legionary
the,
veterans
extra
with
heroic
disintegrator
scale.
weapons. So
20,
if you've not seen
like
disintegrated
30
weapons
millimeter
before,
scale rather
these
than
might be
28
familiar
millimeter.
if you're old enough to remember a model that was released around the time of Rogue Trader. I think it was LE02.
I do not remember that model at all.
A redo. Here you go. You can see the frame of my
I was
hand.
alive
So
during
the
that
set contains
time, but I
frames of these, so you
did
can
not play
equip,
Horus Heresy.
I think it's up to 20
stuff,
of the models.
or it was one
as
paragraph at the time.
full
I didn't play
squads
Rogue
of
Trader.
Legionary veterans armed with disintegrators.
You get,
And no one's ever been interested in going
smaller
back to
guns,
play
you
Rogue
have
Trader.
rifles, and you've got enough of those to have
Second
20
edition, though.
legionaries
People
with
like that.
disintegrator rifles. But you can also upgrade some models in the squad to have heavier versions of them. And you've also got things like combi disintegrators in the mix as well, and all sorts of
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Disintegrator
and
weapons.
If you're wondering, they are extremely dangerous weapons. There's some risk and reward to how you use them, but fantastic for some serious punch for your legionary warriors.
Those,
I think these models will be on the same scale as the Primaris
The
Marines.
Horus Heresy are also compatible with lots of across the wider Space Marine range. So if for some reason you really didn't like Crusade armor, although that's crazy because everyone loves Crusade armor, you could also put those disintegrator weapons on Iron Armor troops or Mark 6 or any of the other Space Marine kits you've got. It's one of the really nice things
So you
about
can switch
Horus
up
Heresy
the different
munitions
armor
and Space
sets.
Marines
That's
is that
good.
it is so
Probably not the
compatible
Mark
across
IV stuff, because
very
that
different
was slightly
Yeah,
smaller
absolutely.
scale.
And
It should
we're
still
showing
fit,
them for
no
the most
problem.
part in the colours of
If
the
you wanted the
Iron
Mark
Warriors
V
and the
Heresy
Salamanders
armor, you would
legions.
use those legs
But
and
you can
probably
paint
bodies,
this, the
but then
concepts
the
of
Mark
this entire
6
box set however you like. You can
riveted
see
shoulder
here some
pads.
Just beautiful examples that the studio painting team have done of other colour schemes. Some legions in particular, so the White Scars, for example, were famed for Crusade armour in the Great
Oh,
Crusade
the White
era.
Scars like Crusade
So,
armor? I thought it was more an
you
Iron
can
Hands,
really
Iron Warrior
sort of
thing.
Stick your own character into your collection.
Yeah, but absolutely
okay.
every legion did have Crusade armor at some point. Some of them were more fond of it than others and stuck with it longer. But
Death Guard could
certainly you
work.
can paint
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
All the
any of
colours you can see
these
on the screen now,
marks of...
any
There's a
of
good
those
Death Guard
particularly
model.
take your fancy, Adam? Any favourites?
Well, this is the problem, is why I'm
That's a
having such
pretty
an
good
issue,
one
right?
for the
Is that
Death
all,
Guard.
basically
They
all
like-
Space Marines look
the
great.
Mark III is more Death
I
Guard
do like
like.
the simplicity. I do like the simplicity.
Right, the
of
White Scars with
the
fire out
First
supply
Legion,
lines, they
though.
didn't get much of the
It's
Mark
good and
6.
robust.
Let us know in the chat, guys, if you've got a favourite from the ones.
Oh, the Wordbearer looks
They
amazing.
all look amazing. That's the point.
Right. While we're talking
Not
about
bad,
Mark
not
II armour, we should bring your attention to the next of the frames within the kit. This is the Mark II armour Centurion, who is there we
Mark
go,
II
who is
character?
the commander you saw essentially in the cinematic trailer a little while ago. This is a great kit. It
Nice
makes
big hammer.
your Centurion.
Could be good as a chaplain
he
or
has
Dark
a
Apostle.
combi melter that you saw in action actually, and a power maul. He has a cyber familiar. Great banner for all of your
Cyber
Legion
Familiar,
heraldry.
Cyber Skull.
And
They've
quite
got
excitingly, he has a second head option. So if you want to build him as a different option, you can.
And the fact that the head is separate as well means you can obviously interchange that with lots of other kits too. But a very cool, imposing looking
interchangeable
character.
head
The size of that
on a
mace as well
Warhammer
is
kit?
fairly,
It's unheard of.
A very nice little centerpiece.
Yeah.
Big banner, big
I'm pretty
cloak,
high on that
good for
model as it
captains,
goes.
good for chaplains.
While we're talking about the
Yeah, it looks a bit like a Special Inquisitor.
the
That
things
could
that are in the
work.
kit, I should bring your attention to the Arachne weapon platform.
Quad accelerator.
Oh, there you go. I knew I was going to bungle something. So
The
this is
Arachne
across two frames. It's a
weapon
really
platform.
substantial kit. There you go. Eddie, do you want to stick the one with the guns in? That's a bit more exciting,
That's
isn't
what
it?
you want. So this has got the same weapons that you see on the Sakaran tank.
That's
but
right.
It's got twice as many of them.
So
if
it's
you've
the
ever,
turret from a
had to
Sakaran
face
tank,
a Sakaran in
but
games of,
as a
Horus
weapon
Heresy, they're
platform,
fairly,
not as a tank.
There we go.
Decent against almost any target. It's a very flexible gun that can.
All
just
right,
make the next
okay, we're
effect whatever
doing
it points at. This has got twice as many of those
Fortifications,
weapons. So you
weapon
plonk these on a
platforms.
nice
It
defensible
works
position
a bit
somewhere in
better
your
in
back
Horus
line
Heresy than
and
it does in
just
40k.
Dominate the battlefield and kind of control the fields of fire.
It
Yeah,
has
the
a
whole
couple of
command
things going
structure
for it.
in
One is the way you can drop
Horus
it down
Heresy
into
is really
battle,
important.
and the other is it
with
has
all
an
the different
automatic
levels of
evade.
leaders.
If you're familiar with those, maybe you've used radio dreadnoughts or things in the past. That gives you some really useful defensive benefits, and I can quite imagine lines of these just pouring shots into the enemy,
Yeah.
a bit like in the trailer.
Yeah, I think the Rapier Destroyers are more fun. I like the Rapier Destroyers, the man-portable ones.
Right. So
That's a big-looking model
that is
compared
half
to the
of what's in the box set in terms of the
Half the
miniatures. Yeah. So numerically more, but an equal number of the kits. So the other half is what gives the box set its name, which is the Saturnine stuff. And before we show you the Saturnine models, let's show you a little something on what Saturnine actually is.
Saturnine Tactical Dreadnought Armor is the heaviest and most advanced suit of armor in the Imperium. Its origins
Big
are
shoulders.
shrouded in mystery, but it is known to have originated in the tech enclaves of Saturn. There are records of Saturnine-clad warriors
from
as
Saturn.
early as the late Unification Wars
Yeah, we
and
know,
the
Fifth
First
Element.
Battle of the Great Crusade. Complexities of its production meant that it was soon overshadowed by the more numerous cataphracti and Tartarus pattern
I
suits.
prefer those two. but
Saturnine
sure.
armor was already fading into legend by the dying days of the Great Crusade. That was until the Primarch Vulcan took it upon himself to unlock the secrets of this venerable technology. He was successful, and, ever the loyal son and brother, gifted his findings to all legions. So it was that as heresy erupted across the galaxy, Saturnine technology was turned against the Imperium that it was forged to protect.
And see.
A warrior in Saturnine plate is a formidable opponent.
That's definitely a
Though
Salamander's
ponderous,
leader.
They are immune to most enemy attacks, and themselves wield some of the most lethal Legion portable weaponry ever devised. The Saturnine siege dreadnoughts take this durability and
that's a
destructive
big plasma
potential
cannon.
even further.
Little melter
Those
gun
in
or
turn
destructor
are
gun.
required to be of an especially disciplined mind. But for those that can master it, there are few foes that can stand before their wrath.
Combi melter shot. I hope it's not a 3+ rerollable save.
Welcome back. That was a good little primer on what Saturnine is, and we got to see, a little bit of what it looks like. Let's delve into the models.
Yeah, here we go. So we'll kick off with the Saturnine Terminators. I've got one of the sprues here. So you get 2 of these sprues in the box, and each one of these will give you 3 Saturnine Terminators. So
Oh, the
6
squads of
total
3.
across the box.
Rather
and
than
they have
squads
a
of 5.
variety of
It
different
definitely
weapons.
feels like they're
as you
cutting
heard
us
from
out.
The video there, they
Like,
are,
what should be a squad
very
of 5
powerful.
is
They're
now like, oh no, it's an
very,
elite squad, so there's only
quite
3
rare,
of them.
I suppose, in armies. So
I'm
certainly
not
at the
keen
time
on that.
of the Dropsite Massacre,
Give us 5
they were just
Terminators.
being reintroduced en masse. So certainly not as numerous as the other marks of Terminator armor, but more powerful, more devastating, able to carry better
They have
weapons,
some of the
and more
most
able to
powerful
resist
shoulder
enemy fire.
pads to
So
ever
a very
exist.
powerful unit.
Yeah, speaking of those weapons, this kit has 3 sort of main weapon options. As you can see, each
Do you think if they fall
Saturnine
over,
Terminator
then
has
they end
2
up
main
like
weapons.
a tortoise?
So here you can see
They
have
can't get
the,
back up, and they have to
heavy
roll
disintegrators
back and
the
forth to get back
disruption fists. The weapon kit also includes plasma bombards, which you can see here. Now, the interesting thing about them, if you look at the one on the
So you can have
right-hand side,
2
if you look at the
disintegrator
screen,
cannons
he's got
or
2
plasma
bombards.
cannons
These can
and
be used on
disintegrators.
either arm, so you can swap them around. The kit contains 6 Terminators and 18 weapons, 6 of each of the main weapons.
All right, so you get a
essentially,
mix.
you could do, for example,
you can
3
double
with
up.
double plasma bombards or 3 with double heavy disintegrators.
I don't know about grab
or,
technology,
you can put the
'cause that
disruption
was
fist in.
Horus
The
Heresy
disruption fist is
stuff, and
always
then
on
it
the
became
left.
more
I'll leave
rare.
it to you to work out the best armament. And here you can see some just beautiful examples of alternative.
This man
paint
is
schemes for different
70%
legions that have been done by
shoulder
the Warhammer
pad.
painting studio.
Yeah,
Now, that definitely
again,
looks like
you can have these
tactical
in any of
Dreadnought
your
armor.
legions. They look good in almost any colour.
Oh yeah, I've been
You've
saying
got
all along, they are
lots of
exactly like the
lovely
5th
armor
element
plates
models.
there to kind of show off your painting skill. The Salamander
Ooh,
one,
yeah,
you
that's a
obviously have that beautiful
fast white scar
volcanic look
dude.
to them. The White Scars one there showing off what you can do with lovely Legion heraldry. But yes.
Yeah, and if you're wondering how these are going to fit into your existing army, if you're already a player, Saturnine armor is more durable. The weapons are extremely powerful. They're well protected. They have thermal diffraction fields.
I wonder if they'll have. I mean, I
and they
doubt
can
it.
fire
I
both
doubt
weapons
that Games
thanks to
Workshop
the
would even
advanced
give them a
targeting systems.
Legends
So when you consider the
data
plasma
sheet
bombard, which is
in
essentially an indirect fire plasma
40k.
cannon, you can imagine the potential for wreaking havoc on the enemy.
Yeah. So alongside your squads of Saturnine Terminators,
Yeah, this
you
could be
obviously
a
need someone to
Centurion
lead them into
conversion,
battle.
absolutely.
And the box set has got one of those as well. This is a Praetor in
Said 18
Saturnine
weapons,
Terminator
3
armor,
different
and he's
kinds.
absolutely jam-packed with detail and also quite a lot of options on the sprue as well.
give you, what, 3
you've
of
got
each?
choices for how you want to put them together. That is the sort of out-of-the-box Salamander version of him, and you can see he has an absolutely enormous hammer, which is about twice the height of a Space Marine. So you
That
imagine
is
that's
a big
mess that
hammer.
hits.
Yeah, so he's holding a Saturnine disruption hammer. The kit contains 2 options.
Oh, you
for
have
the-
to add in
the sort of
Saturnine
base
to
plate of the
everything
hammer. In terms of other options, there are 2 options for the lanyard. There's 2 options for sort of his tabard. 4 options for the head. And here you can see the other major option, which is there's also a Saturnine war axe. This model in particular, I think, is just one of the most impressive Space Marine miniatures I've ever seen.
Yeah, that has
Whoever
really big
painted
shoulder
it and
pads.
posed it, it's done an amazing job.
Yeah, I think
I'm just
these
waiting to
guys are
show
very, very
for them
powerful
to show
in
off
game
like
as well.
the whole
So,
box
in
to see what you
Warhammer,
get.
The Horus Heresy, as well as Space Marines, you also have the demigods of battle walking
Bigger
around. You have,
hammers
like,
and bigger
Primarchs and
pauldrons.
demons
They
and
did
all
that for
sorts
like
of things
3rd
that you might
edition
have
of
to
Age
come
of
up
Sigmar,
against.
so I can see it happening in 40k.
Praetor in Saturnine Terminator armor is pretty much as tough as you can make a Space Marine get. So in terms of stat line and
Ferrus
damage
Manus did
output
the
and things like
current
that, he is
Terminator armor.
approaching the
Good to
level
know.
of some of the Primarchs and that sort of thing. So
Yes, you're
It
going to
probably is bigger than
before
Vulcan's
you're fighting
hammer.
with anybody, aren't you?
yes, absolutely. They are very, very powerful, and they look great as a centerpiece
If you
kit.
put them on Gretchen,
if you
I
decided
think you've
that
made a
you
sled.
don't want to have a Primarch leading your army, and if you want to represent a legion or a chapter that isn't fighting alongside one, or if you just want to have another bruiser in your force alongside a Primarch, it's a great thing to add in.
Big man.
So we should probably go to what, for many people, I think is going to be the centerpiece kit in Saturnine,
Dreadnought?
which is the Saturnine Dreadnought. This comes on a variety of frames. Like we can't possibly get
Loads
more
of
than at
frames.
once.
Look at
Yeah. Hey, look at this new
this is
Saturnine
essentially,
Dreadnought for Space Marines.
an
Grey Knight
upscale
players, you
version
get
of the Saturnine
a
armor that you've
little
seen
upgrade
up
kit.
till now. It is the largest
For some
and
of your
most
weird
powerful
things.
Dreadnought in the armories of the Legiones Astartes.
They do need more
and
hammers.
It towers above other
More
Dreadnoughts.
demon hammers needed.
In
What
terms
size
of what it's
base is that
armed
going to
with,
be
it
for that
has,
Saturnine
disintegrator
Dreadnought?
Cannons.
At least
That's that
100
enormous
millimeters.
gun on its left arm, and it has a heavy plasma bombard on its right arm, and it can fire both. This is a real heavy-duty war machine. Again, it has that same thermal diffraction field to protect it from injury.
Radioactive
It's
Gorgon
mounting,
Terminators.
sort of point defense weapons in its chest armor.
I think you don't need to
This
convert
is,
it. You can just take
a
that
real bruiser.
with its incredibly
A huge
impressive
amount of
shoulder
firepower in
pads
this
and
thing as
say
well.
it's a redemptive Dreadnought.
Even more firepower than you could expect from some of the other very large
a big
Dreadnoughts
plasma
that you get
cannon,
in the
so there you
Horus
go.
Heresy. So even more than things like the Leviathan Dreadnoughts and some of the big Custodes ones.
Chad, stop being funny. I'm laughing.
Powerhouse. It's pretty much the most powerful walker that you can have in a Space Marine Legion
Okay, so you
army,
can see that a
approaching the
regular
level of
Space
some
Marine
of
comes
the,
up
the
to
knights
just
and things
above
like
its
that. So
knee.
Definitely.
That's going to be pretty
a great
big.
addition to any Space Marine army.
Yeah, in those chest-mounted weapons, I was trying to remember the name of it. It either is 2 photonic incinerators or it's twin concussion resonators. We'll tell you what those do in articles in the future, but they're
It's got
bit
big
like,
guns.
in effect,
So we're probably going to get a
flamers,
few weeks
but they each have their own
of
special
Horus Heresy
effects.
articles
They use
coming
the
out.
template weapon marker, and they're
Yeah.
very nasty if you get too close.
So that is all the miniatures from the Saturnine box set. I think we might have a nice shot of all of them together.
Could be, yeah, I mean,
somewhere to
that
show
right
you
away
kind of
is
how
like,
it all
you can
looks
tell this
when
is going to
it's
be the
all laid out
Custodes one
together.
because it's gold and it's
There
bigger
we
than
go.
everyone else's.
Beautiful. So we have painted this box set up in 2 colours. We have the Salamanders on one side and the Iron Warriors on the other. We'll let you in on a little secret. If you want to buy this box and paint them all one colour, you can absolutely do that. And it actually
Okay,
gives
that
you a
guy at
really
the front
solid
is
start
really
to a
big.
Space Marine force. That is a pretty much
That is a big
self-contained,
Terminator model.
medium-sized Horus Heresy army ready to go straight out of the box.
Perfect.
So it's
So,
once again
with all
got,
of the
that looks like
miniatures
40
in
different
Saturnine covered,
Marines.
I think it makes sense
10
for
of them
us
having the
maybe to see if
disintegrator
there's any
cannons.
questions bubbling up in the chat. Let's
Got
throw this
your
question corner with our Lore Master.
platform.
Alex, what have we got?
There are indeed. There's a lot of excitement.
So there's no Predator
particularly
tank
about
like we saw in the
Saturnine.
preview thing.
So just nipping back to the Mark II, do they work with all the other kits, like the heavy weapons, special, melee?
That's a really good question. If we didn't cover it off clearly enough, yes, the special weapons and heavy weapons that are already within the plastic Horus Heresy range are completely compatible with those. I've seen some; they look great. So yeah, you've got a lot of variety.
Okay,
There's a lot of
good.
people liking the veterans with the disintegrators. How many of those come in the box?
So there's 40 Mark II legionaries.
Yeah, 40
you
Marines.
can build them as the veterans with disintegrators, and
That's a lot of Marines.
I wouldn't want to bet my life on it, but I think you can make 2 full squads of 10 with all.
I know it's going to
the
depend
You
on
can
your
absolutely do that. You
Terminator
actually win that. You have
some
preference,
spares,
but I
aren't
You will
prefer
end up
the
with some
previous
spares, so you
stat
can do
set
2 full
to
squads
this
of 10,
one.
and every single
Because the
person
Land
has a
Raider.
disintegrator rifle.
And the
but you also
Dreadnought.
have heavy disintegrators that you can add in as well, and things like combi disintegrators. So you
Yes,
have
the
about
chat has
28
questions.
disintegrator guns that you can put on Mark II Space Marines.
Perfect.
So lots of people asking who can use Saturnine. Same question regarding the whole box. There's no
Every Legion can
sculpted
use Saturnine?
Legion-specific iconography on them at all.
So that's a really good question. So any Legion can use any of the stuff
Sakarans,
in this
yes,
box.
they were
It's
Sakarans,
almost
not
designed that
Predators.
way,
Yeah.
so you can paint it up in whatever
I
colour
just
you
think,
like.
oh, that's a Predator-looking
There
tank,
are
so it must
a
be
few of the
Predator.
kits that have certain
It's the
aesthetic
bigger
elements
ones,
on
the
them
Horus
that look a
Heresy
little bit
ones.
more traitor or a little bit more loyalist. So if you really want lots of eagles and scroll work, some of the kits have more of that.
Eagles?
And then there's an
That's
option
the Emperor's
to swap it
children,
out for more
scroll work?
chains and more
That's
kind of
the
eyes
word
and
bearers.
balls.
What are you
Where
talking
those parts
about?
exist on the kits, they are the optional parts.
Yeah.
So you can sort of tailor your force a little bit more.
Those are no loyalists
but
unless
very
they died at
much
Isfan
this
3.
is a a box set that any Space Marine Legion army could.
So they're very
make
much
for
doing an
yourself.
Istvan 5
just
theme.
in case the question.
So it's the
who's in
Salamanders
Saturnine
being
is
like, oh, we'll go back and
interpreted
get supplied, and
One
then
of
the
great
Iron Warriors
ironies
turn on them.
Vulcan's beautiful gift to all of his brothers was that he sent Saturnine armor to all of the legions.
He's a really generous guy.
And so
really nice
it's a bit sad that it was then used against him on his Istvan 5.
There's a lot of release-related and rules-related questions, some of which will be answered.
We might have
later
some
on.
rules later. Who knows?
Oh, I don't think they're going to
And
show
the
off
final
rules
one,
today.
somebody's asking, how does the Arachne compare to the Tarantula? And several people asked, can we have a Leviathan for scale? And I think we do have some things to compare.
We do have some things for
conveniently,
scale.
they happen to have
just
that
so happens
question's
that we have some
answer
of the
right here in
models
picture form.
So we'll start off with the Arachne Quad Accelerator platform, and I think we'll compare this in size to one of the Mark II Legionaries.
He looks so weird.
Consists of battleware Terminator armor.
That is about the size
No,
of it.
they're not
So
meant
it
to.
is certainly
It's not really
considerably
compatible.
larger.
So that's why they
than
have the Paragon warsuits instead.
Tarantulas that you might have been expecting. You can see the size of those accelerator cannons are themselves about 3 times as long as a Space Marine each. So you can imagine that when they hit, they can make a mess of pretty much anything.
That seems a bit
So
too
that is
big as a
a
weapons
fairly
platform.
formidable gun platform there. It's a lot bigger than a Tarantula.
And you're going to have
in
to
terms
hope
of
for
how
more
they
open
compare
terrain.
to some of the other things, we also have a Saturnine Terminator.
Stick
So
a
if you're wondering
Terminator on.
how big these are compared
Don't
to
take things
standard,
off.
Space
No,
Marine
now
Legionary,
we can't
you
see
can
the
that
scale
they are
anymore.
a good, almost twice the height actually by the
Yeah,
time
that's
you've
a bit
factored
too
in all of
big.
the size of them, and certainly in mass considerably
Bit too
larger.
big.
And we also have how a Saturnine Terminator compares to one of the current Tartarus Terminators there.
So I think to bear in mind when you look at this, obviously, is that it's bigger armor. A lot of that height is in the shoulder armor, where the thermal diffraction.
Yeah, the
field
height is in
and
the shoulders.
Technology. that
So
allows
that's gonna be
teleport
40%
strikes
shoulders.
exist. But these are towering suits of armor.
Yeah. I've also got another little
Okay, they're pretty big.
integrator there. On the
Always
bottom.
So we're looking at
We
like a
should show
60
you,
millimeter base.
how the Praetor compares. Would be good.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Praetor is a very large, imposing-looking model.
Yeah, it's emphasis on the
Here he
Dreadnought
is
part of
compared
tactical
to,
Dreadnought armor.
Saturnine Terminator and one of the current Tartarus Terminators.
See if they can put.
And one of the things we said earlier on is that the Saturnine armor for
It
the
looks
Praetors
too
actually
big.
allows them to go
That
toe-to-toe
is tactical
with some
Dreadnought
of
armor,
the
but-
kind of big hitters of the Horus Heresy, the Primarchs and
Yeah,
things.
that's
So
big.
we've actually brought along
Consistent
Vulcan
scale doesn't
himself
seem to be
give
there.
you a comparison about how big those Saturnine Terminators are in comparison to something like a
He's a
Primarch.
good-looking model, isn't he?
He is
Right,
good.
yeah,
So,
he's
the
near
Primarch
Primarch
himself, obviously, in
size.
terms of stature, is still significantly
So if you
larger,
want a
but you can
Vulcan
see that
model,
the kind of
just take the
additional
guy
armor
with the big
plating
hammer
afforded
and say it's
to the
Vulcan
Praetor
because it
in
is
that
the same
Saturnine plate,
size.
certainly makes his presence on the battlefield almost as imposing as
Yeah, obliterators.
Primarch,
They will
pretty
work very well as
absolutely.
obliterators,
Alright.
these Saturnine Terminators.
I think we had some questions about the size of the Dreadnoughts as well.
Yeah,
Can
like
we have
cannons and stuff.
a Saturnine
Nothing's
versus
too
things for
big if you're
scale?
brave
So
enough.
we'll keep
It's a
Vulcan there
lot
just so
to
you can get a
paint,
sense of
is
size.
definitely what I'm
There he is
thinking.
with one of his finest creations, the Saturnine Dreadnought. There we go. So you can see even a Primarch
I think the idea
standing
is you
next to one
put
of
the
these
guy
things is
inside,
dwarfed by
like
the
in
size of the,
tactical Dreadnought stuff,
Saturnine
like normal
Dreadnought,
Terminator
absolutely
size, and then
towering
there's
over
more
him.
armor
We
on
have a
top
few
of
of
that.
the other Dreadnoughts to kind of show you the scale. Vulcan, thank you so much for showing up, Vulcan. I'll see you later.
always an honour.
Have a great time in Istvan. This is courtesy of Terra. We have one of the Legio Custodes.
So it's bigger than a Custodes Dreadnought.
If you're familiar with the Contemptor chassis, it's a decent sized sort of Dreadnought frame, and he comes up to about 2/3 the way up the torso. One of the bigger Dreadnoughts, we've referenced it already once this evening, is the Duradio.
There he is.
So here he is with all the guns. And then there was a definite request in the chat.
Leviathan for scale, was it?
Leviathan,
Yeah.
yeah. So excuse me, Mr. Contemptor.
There he is. So the Leviathan, currently the largest Dreadnought walking on any battlefield in Warhammer. And as you can see, even the Leviathan Dreadnought is a good shoulder plate smaller than...
It's really interesting though, isn't it? You can imagine sort of the Saturnine sort of stomping forward with extra sort of thermal
Yeah, so
diffraction
we've got
fields,
Dreadnought
taking sort of
versions of all of the
bait as
Terminator
they charge
patterns.
forward.
I mean, it
Sort
certainly
of.
makes an all Dreadnought Horus Heresy army appealing, right? So like the concept of having the whole mix, or the whole family, the whole gang get together.
People
Stomp
praising
across the battlefield would look
Centurions
very
can
cool
be
indeed.
banned at
So there
any
you go.
moment.
Some scale shots there. I'm sure we'll have some more various scale shots and things up on the Warhammer community website in the not too distant future as well.
Perfect.
Yes,
So,
is that a
we've talked
120
a lot about
millimeter
all of the
circle
miniatures
base?
that
That's
come inside
Titan size.
Saturnine,
You
and
put that in
we've done a
like
pretty good job, I think, of
Titanicus,
showing you
and it will
all of the
suit.
stuff you get and how it scales. We haven't really talked about the rules yet, so it's probably time for that. Why don't we begin with this little primer about the new rules?
they might be doing more flexible.
The Horus Heresy means big changes to the rules of the game. Players will need
More
to adapt
flexible,
to the new realities
organisation.
of war in the Age of Darkness. For those generals who can master these changes, you will find new tools and abilities that will help you to secure victory. Battles are won and lost by the feet of legendary heroes. There is now a new suite of abilities for your characters to use when locked in a lethal duel with an enemy champion or commander. The rules on assembling your army for battle are more
so we got more
flexible than
dueling, like
ever,
6th
allowing
and 7th
for
edition of
thematic
40k.
and powerful armies supported by allies of your choice. Killing the foe is not the only way to dominate the battlefield. Representing the debilitating effects of the myriad weapons of the Age of Darkness, new tactical statuses allow you to subdue an enemy army before breaking their spirit and putting them to flight.
So, suppression?
Representing the mental fortitude of your troops, new advanced characteristics represent their ability to follow orders, stay calm under pressure, and fight on in the face of
we're gonna
overwhelming
have
odds.
leadership, intellect,
Every
cool.
weapon in the game has been reworked, including the addition of a damage characteristic, as well as many melee weapons
no,
offering
they
new
ruined it. They've
bonuses
added
to those
damage.
skilled enough to wield them. These are just a handful of the new rules in the upcoming new edition of
They're
Warhammer,
making it
the
more like
Horus
40k.
Heresy.
When I think what they did last time.
What a fantastic primer on the
3
new
years ago.
rules. And we've taken the liberty of cracking the rulebook out
Was
of the
a
Saturnine
lot of the
box.
things that
Yeah,
you
I
saw
have
in the
been
Horus
given
Heresy
permission to
rulebook
break the
then
seal
went
on
into
the
10th
rulebook that
edition
we just opened
40k.
up from our Saturnine
Things
box.
like
So,
reactive shooting
Here we go.
in like
Let's
the
open
movement
it up.
phase.
Now you're going to do it so you can keep it for now.
No,
So we
very
may be
good.
seeing
Break the
more.
seal.
We
There
try
go.
it out in
Right.
Horus Heresy, see how it
We
does.
have two.
And then it goes into regular
reference
40k.
compendiums, one for me, one for you, so we can play a game later. There we go. And inside this, we have the beautiful new Age of Darkness rulebook. It is a hefty tome, clocking in at
many pages?
352 pages.
That's pretty
and
big.
I have been reliably informed that
There's more than 100 pages at the start of that book are detailing the lore and the history of the Horus
Okay, so a
Heresy.
third of its lore. It's not
the events that
300
lead up to the
pages of
heresy,
rules.
So through the Great Crusade. And then obviously the
Like
things
I
that
looked at the
caused
Infinity
actual
rulebook for
breakout of
Corvus
the
Belli's
heresy.
Infinity.
Then you've got
That's
an
maybe
incredible
like
primer
50
on
pages
all of the forces
or
that
more,
take place
but
within,
it's
so the
dense
18th Space Marine
rules,
Legions,
all of it.
forces like the Solar Auxilia, the Mechanicum and so on. This is a really brilliant way.
I don't think
of
damage
dipping your
characteristics
toe
is
into
such
the
a good
lore if you never
idea.
have. If you are
It
an
does suggest they're going to
established fan
change
of
out
Horus Heresy, I've been
vehicles
following
and
it
be
since I
more
was
like
about
what I
10 years
said just
old.
before this stream started.
And there were still
That
new things
we're
in
not
there for me to
doing
learn. I really enjoyed sort of
transports
wading
and
through the lore section
big
of that book.
vehicles like we
But
were in
also
6th and
rules.
7th
There's also loads
edition
of
with
rules.
hull
So the back half
points.
of this book is obviously the rules of the new edition of Warhammer the Horus Heresy, and we certainly haven't got time today to go through absolutely every rule of the new edition, but we do have a few little nuggets that we can share with you, a few
Rule
things
book
that,
and a law book
Josh
might
has
be
already
more
hinted at.
convenient.
So let's talk about stats. This
Oh,
is the
yes.
stats
Leadership.
of a
Is that
legionary
cool?
in the new
Willpower?
edition of Warhammer the Horus Heresy. As
Initiative?
you can see, some returning favourites in the stat line: movement, weapon skill, ballistic,
that's-
strength,
if I was
toughness,
initiative,
wounds,
then it's
initiative
in.
attacks. All the classics are there.
But what is this? New stats.
There's a new stat bit section at the bottom. There is an advanced stat section who broadly deal with the mental capabilities and fortitude of your Space Marines. You will notice that alongside save and invulnerable save at the bottom there are 4 stats. Leadership returns, demonstrating how good your
Standard
troops are
leadership.
at taking orders and rallying when you tell them to.
They
You
are
have
stats that
CL,
we
which
see
means
in Rogue
cool,
Trader.
which is how well your troops fare under fire and how well they can deal with things like sniper fire and bombardment and avoiding
Resistance to
pinning and
pinning.
things like that. You have WP.
That's
which-
willpower.
It is
Which is
willpower.
essentially your warrior's mental fortitude when it comes to things like psychic
Resistance
tests
to psychic
and
powers,
resisting psychic powers. So think of that as the ability of your.
I wonder how many of these we'll see in
your
40k.
character to have
I
a
wonder if we'll
fortress
see
of his
psychic
mind
stuff
and
come
either
back to
use that
40k.
offensively or defensively. And then lastly, you have intelligence, which is his ability to do technical actions under duress. So
Right.
it's the sort
How
of thing
quickly
you
can
can
you
imagine
do
the servants of the Mechanicum will make
tactical
great use
thing?
of, maybe when they're repairing vehicles or each other.
Yeah, you also using things like communications equipment
Sure.
and that sort of stuff. Anything that's interacting with tech, basically. If you have been around in Warhammer 40,000 for a very long time, and I'm talking Rogue Trader era, you will recognise these stats as being from the very first edition of Warhammer 40,000.
course,
But
we
they
have to
haven't
bring back
been
Rogue
included
Trader
just
stats.
for nostalgia's sake. They give more nuance to the way the game works and more interactions and more
I think it's just gonna
differentiation
be,
between
rather
the
than
types of
taking a
units
leadership
you can
test,
include.
take an
So
intelligence
things like
test.
Chaplains and librarians and tech marines will all vary quite a lot.
Yeah,
in
7th
these
edition
stats in
having
terms of what
the
they bring
split
to your
books was
army.
good.
You can
10th
see
edition
here, a
also
legionary
kind of had
is
the
7
split
across
books
the
because you
board,
got the
which
Crusade
means
book
that when you
separate
take these
to
tests,
the
for the
law
most part,
book
you're
separate to the
rolling
core
2d6
rules.
and trying to score equal or less than your score, much like you do with current leadership. So
Yeah,
his
these are just
legionaries
alternative
gonna
stats
pass
to
most of these
leadership, and
tests
they're all 7, so
most
it
of
makes
the time.
no
If they roll on the
difference.
averages, there will be some things that are much better at taking these tests. So Primarchs, for example, push some of these numbers into double figures. And there are some units which have quite low stats. So things like
regular infantry
tech
dudes.
rolls were the ones that we found earlier on, which have fairly atrocious stats for these. So not very good at resisting psychic powers, but actually very uncaring when they're.
I don't think it matters when they're all
pretty good at doing what
blanket
they told.
7.
Yeah, they're good at doing
Seeing
what they're told,
movement
but not much
7
else.
is an
Absolutely.
interesting choice.
And the stats, they're used for a thing in the game which is new, which is your tactical
Yeah,
status.
leadership stats and
I've
other
grabbed
things
the
are going to be,
last, frame out of the
your
box
solar
and
auxiliary
you can see
isn't
this.
cool
This is
enough.
essentially
They don't have
captures
enough
40
willpower.
markers which,
Or they'll end
have a
up
mix of
also
things.
being
One, you've got
willpower
some numbers
7,
for
and then it
objectives,
won't matter.
But 2, you've got these sort of symbols here. These relate to a thing called tactical statuses. There you go. That's a much more effective picture for you.
Okay, so we have pinning,
In games
that's
of the Horus Heresy
from
in the new
previous
edition,
editions.
there are ways of interacting
Routed,
with
they
your
have to
opponent's
fall
army that
back
are more
and
than just
move
killing
back
them.
perhaps
They are
towards
effectively
the
giving
deployment zone?
enemy units debuffs or tactical statuses. These are usually caused by them being forced to take and then failing one of those advanced characteristics tests, and there are 4 of them. Pinned means that the enemy unit is pinned down under fire, either something like artillery or sniper fire, and they can't move.
How is suppressed really
is
different from
that
pinned?
unit is
They
less
seem like
able to
exactly the
return
same
fire
thing.
because they are ducking behind cover and trying not to take hits, basically.
If you're pinned, you're
Stunned
stopped.
means that unit's going to
If
be
you're
less
stunned,
able
you're
to
stopped.
react
If
to
you're suppressed,
things
you have to
that happen
stop.
in the game. And then
routed
means
is
that
running
you've
away.
actually just broken the morale of that unit, and it's going to be fleeing. And
Oh yeah, we'll see.
these
The
are
next edition of
slightly
Horus
different rules in
Heresy
terms of how
introduced
they
war
interact
gear
with the rest of the
cards,
game,
like in
but they
second
mean
edition
that
of
you can
40k.
interact with your opponent's army in ways that aren't just blow them off the battlefield. Although you absolutely still can just blow them
Always
off the
an
battlefield.
option, firepower.
Always an option.
Well, yeah, if you
Speaking
can
of
just
firepower,
do
what a lovely
death.
segue. We should talk a little bit about
Do you really
the
want to
changes that
spec
happened
into
to weapons.
suppression?
Weapons have new profiles. Eddie, you're very good at this bit.
Yes, so ranged weapons and melee weapons have both changed, and there are some things that will be very familiar and some things that have changed slightly.
All right, so we've got
a bolt
keywords like
pistol here
assault and
a
bolt.
Saturnine disruption fist. Let's look at the bolt pistol first. It has range. That's how far it can shoot. It can shoot 12 inches. FP stands for firepower. That's how many shots you get. You've
Why
got
don't
RS
call
for
it
range
attacks?
strength.
Why is it
range strength of
FP?
4, very familiar to anyone who's ever fired a bolt pistol. The difference between range strength and strength is that some rules will only interact with range strength and some rules will interact with
Why not just
any
have separate
strength.
profiles?
So it is a slight difference.
Like they do in 40k.
AP is how good at punching through armor it is. And then a big change to weapons in the new edition is that they now have a damage characteristic. So that's how many wounds you do if you get a shot through.
So then
And
you've
what
got to
that
figure
means
out
is you
how
have
damage
more
interacts with
differentiation
saves and
between
vulnerable
guns that are
saves
very good at killing
and feel no
infantry, light infantry, and guns that are very good at killing heavier stuff, like or do damage to vehicles or taking out Terminators and things like that. So things like a bolt gun will be damage 1. Stuff like your las cannons and disintegrators and things like that will have a higher damage characteristic.
Maybe damage
Looking
D6
at
for
the
a las
melee
cannon.
weapons,
How is
they've
this
also
as a
gone through some
novel
changes.
idea?
The big thing to note about melee weapons is that most of the time their stat line will be boosts or buffs to your existing melee stat line rather than being a stat line in its own right. So a Saturnine Disruption Fist, IM stands for Initiative Modifier. So you fight in initiative order in Warhammer Horus Heresy.
Unless
and
the
that
games are going to be
shows
really
that
small,
weapon is
this
gonna
is
swing
too much
quite
stuff to try and
ponderously, it's
remember.
gonna hit fairly hard. Attack modifier is how many attacks
Compare
you get.
initiative,
that you
compare
use
your
attack
initiative
profile.
modifier.
But it might be, for example, +1 or +2.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Is it
SM
AM or
is strength
PM?
modifier,
It's currently
so
A.
If you have a Saturnine Disruption Fist, you have +2 to your strength. Saturnine Terminators are already pretty strong, so they're going to be hitting pretty
So
hard.
AM is going to be
And then
attacks
AP
modifier,
is how
so
good at
it's
punching through
just
armor
your
you
normal
are,
attacks
and D is how
characteristic.
much damage that does. So
I think 10th
just on the
edition
read
of
of that,
40k
you
does
can
it
see
much
that
better when you
Saturnine
have a
Disruption
profile that
Fist
says,
is
okay,
gonna
you have a
pretty
chainsaw, you
much
get
kill
4
anything
attacks.
short of a
You have
character in a
a
single
power
hit.
sword, you get 3 attacks. It's just
A lot
set.
of rules.
It's a lot of rules.
And it's just the
Initiative,
sort of the tip
I
of the
liked
iceberg
initiative.
in terms of
Initiative is
what
good.
The studio team responsible
It's going to
for
be
Horus
more
Heresy game have
boring
done.
if everyone's a
They love
space
this
marine.
game, and they poured all of that love into
Yeah, the Raven
fine-tuning
Guard
and
changed
finessing
AM to PM.
and adding new and exciting things.
Night
to the
fighting rules
experience.
come in then.
It's the same game you already know and love if you played the Horus Heresy, but it's been sort of revitalized, and they're really excited to share it with you. We've talked a little bit about stat lines and the things that
Pinning
you
may just be for like the
refer
Alpha
to.
Legion and the
first
Raven
place you'll
Guard.
find them is in the booklet that comes inside the Saturnine box. I'll show you. It's quite a nice little
Oh,
book.
if they wrote good books, then they would still
and
release
in
new
it, you'll
editions.
find all of the
But people would complain that the
quick
previous
start rules
edition
and
was
profiles
better.
and things that you need
And they would still try and get money.
Use your models in your first games. This
They
is
want the money.
absolutely, there you go. It's full of construction information, but at near the start, you've got profiles and things too. This is great for your first games, and you could just play this forever. But if you want to get more out of the Horus
I like
Heresy,
the idea
you're
of
going to
playing the
need
introduction
new
stuff forever.
Liber books, which are coming out on the same day as the release of the new game. You've seen there's new stats and new weapon profiles and things, so we need new levers to handle them. And there will be 5
World
released
War
on the day
II
that
has
Saturnine
different
comes out.
stats for different
The 2 you can see
people.
here,
Then
Leader
you've got
Erectus and
hopefully
Leader
things
Astartes
different
deal
than
with the
initiative,
Loyalists and
but they
Traitor
have
Legions.
different
These are
weapons.
Massive tomes.
And you're not
packed with
comparing what is your
lore and
average human
information
strength to
about
my
the
average human
legions,
strength.
and also
You have
all
like
the stats
combat
you need, not
ability.
just for the warriors,
British
but also for
commandos
those
being
iconic
better than
characters,
German
first
conscripts.
captains like Sigismund or Primarchs like Lorgar. They're not alone. There's 3 more volumes that come out on the same day, and they are Liber Auxilia, which deals with the armies of the Solar Auxilia, Mechanicum, which deals with the forces
Yeah,
of
so initiative
Tagmata,
and just the
and
person
then
who
Liber
charge fights
Questoris,
first.
which is knights and
You just
titans,
compare your
so
initiative
the,
value. Warhammer
Questoris
Fantasy, the
and
new
the
Warhammer
Titan
Fantasy,
legions.
old
All
Fantasy,
5 of
has it
those
done
books,
quite well, where if you
are
charge, you
super
get a
comprehensive.
bonus
They're
to your
fantastic
initiative.
volumes, and they launch on the
Which
same day
often
as
means you go
Saturnine.
first, but not
I can
necessarily.
almost imagine in chat right now they're saying, but what about the Talons of the Emperor? Fear not.
Okay,
on the
let's talk
day
about
of launch,
Custodes.
We'll be releasing a downloadable PDF. Which has all
They're
the
going to
rules
be
you
a
need
free
to use your
downloadable. Maybe the
force
demons will also
until
be a
your
free
own
PDF.
Liber book is released.
There's a little bit of a wait for the Talons of the Emperor Liber book, but it'll be well worth it.
Absolutely. Wow. Right. Good. Okay. So, now
Militia are going to be in
what
the
I would say
Auxilia
is
book.
we've covered all the models.
assume.
We've covered all of the like the rules interest. We'd like to talk a little bit about the lore. Perhaps you've been sat there in the chat.
The
and you're
lore?
like, what
They
is this
can't
Horus
change
Heresy
the
and
lore.
how do I
The
get
lore's
into it? How
done
do I
now.
enjoy this enormous,
Like 2 or 3 times over.
decade-spanning series. Well,
It sounds
our
like 3 of the
lore
army
master
books are
prepared a little
available at
message
launch.
to explain how.
So, you've heard of the Horus Heresy. It's the foundation myth of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, an epic saga of events so cataclysmic
Yeah,
they
it's
shook the
backstory.
galaxy to its very
It's
core.
backstory for
With more
40K.
than 35 years of real-world history behind the setting, including 2 best-selling novel series totaling 64 books, a tabletop miniatures game and more, it could feel overwhelming. Good news is, it's actually pretty straightforward. And to prove it, here are 3 surefire ways to get started.
Do they have summary videos, or is this a
The
joke?
first way is the simplest by far. Packed within the new Warhammer the Horus Heresy Saturnine box game is the Age of Darkness rulebook. This honking great tome isn't just a rulebook though, it's also a fantastic primer for the events of the Horus Heresy. It's loaded with artwork and lore explaining the build-up to the heresy, introducing the Legiones Astartes and the other main players, and even has
That seems a
detailed
lot of
timelines
pages
key
for the
events.
quick way into the lore.
But what if you really want the story? You know, all those novels everyone keeps banging on about. Well, if that's your chosen
Yeah,
route,
this is silly
go for a
1930s
try.
Britain.
Just pick up the Horus Heresy Book 1
In terms
Horus
of music.
Rising. First up, it's a genuinely excellent novel and sets up all of the events that follow. On a brief,
After book 1,
spoiler-free
buy
summary,
book 2, and then
by
try
the order
book
of the
3.
Emperor, Horus has been acclaimed the War Master. Everyone loves Horus. It's all gonna go great. But wait, what if you're just completely time-starved and need another option? We've got you covered. The entire Horus Heresy series is available on audiobook, meaning no matter
They're
what's
just
keeping
selling
you busy,
all of their products, being like,
get
hey,
caught
we
up.
have all of the
walking the
rule
dog.
books.
Do it
we
while
have
Horus
all of
purges the legions of
novels.
Imperial loyalists.
We have the
Travelling
audiobook version.
to and from work or school. It'll sound better to the narrated events of the Dropside Massacre. Frantically painting models for your new Warhammer the Horus Heresy army. You get the idea. So there you have it. 3 great ways to start exploring the story of the Horus Heresy. The only question is, how are you going to catch up?
That was a great little lore primer. I have to confess that the audiobooks in particular are a favourite of mine. I've listened to the entire of the Siege of Terror series, and usually when I was walking my dog, so there are entire sequences that I can visualise where I was with my dog at the time that, you know, some important person
Yeah,
died. No
audiobooks do
spoilers from
that.
me. There we
can
are.
be fun.
while
Sometimes I
we're
pick up
talking
one of
about
my
lore
models
and
and I'm
things
like,
that are
I remember
interesting,
which film
also
I was
coming out
watching when I was
alongside Saturnine
painting you.
is an amazing new map produced by the Warhammer studio. This is the Carta Galactica, the Imperium of Mankind.
Yeah, if you want to know
at
the lore
time
of
the
Horus Heresy, just ask a
So,
Horus Heresy player.
This is post Great Crusade. You can see some of the more troublesome things that are taking place in the galaxy have begun. You can almost imagine Horus is he like using his own equivalent of this.
Yeah, he's got one just like this. Up on his
Oh, I
wall,
see,
he's
yes.
planning
Look,
his
it's
fucking
the real
combat.
mat.
He's probably
It's
got
the
like
Heresy mat from
Probably
Horus Heresy, owned by
carved into the
Horus
skin of
himself, where he
some-
planned his heresy. Get the Horus Heresy mat.
Yeah, this is an enormous fold-out map, really beautiful and just the perfect thing for your collection and for putting on your wall if that's.
Oh, you're
jam.
going to see so many
There's
people
also
cosplaying as just
coming
shoulders.
soon. This fantastic new volume, which is Journal Tactica, the Dropsite Massacre Part 1. This is our first of the Journal Tacticas that we'll be releasing for the Horus Heresy game, and it is.
I don't think they're going to be doing
rammed
any
full of
Eldar
great
or Orcs
content.
for this
So
setting.
it's got lore,
They just want to sell
it's
more
got,
Space Marines. It's the game where they
scenario
sell Space
rules and
Marines.
ways to play to recreate some of those famous events, as you can see here. Like loads of great stuff for you to add some variety and interest to your games. And the thing that I'm really excited about this is we
Yes,
get to
there's
put
rule
a
books.
microscope.
You
over
get
one
rule
of the
books in your core set.
Impactful
Yeah,
events
drop site
in
part
probably the
1,
Imperium's entire history, right? This
the
was
betrayal,
first
and then drop
decisive
site
blow
part
of the
2,
heresy,
focusing around the Raven
and
Guard,
really
maybe.
changed the fate of the galaxy. And the studio team are
And
exploring
then drop
it
site
in
part 3,
beautiful
the
detail.
Iron Hands.
I think one of the things about the Horus Heresy is that you do get to visit these.
Oh yeah, you can
amazing
definitely make the same
moments,
shoulder pad
especially
drops.
if
The
you
bigger
kind of
the
come
shoulder
to it through
pads,
the
the stronger the
fiction,
man.
Read the Black Library books, you're like, man, that battle sounds really cool. It'd be great to kind of reenact it, and this allows you to do it. There's a lot of the kind of DNA from some of those really well-loved black books of the very first edition of the Horus Heresy in this. Yeah, it's just a really
Missile
lovely
tank.
book if you want to kind of, if you're narrative-minded and you kind of love playing campaigns and things like this. And the Horus Heresy is great for that. This is an awesome book for it.
Perfect. So we've still got some things to show you that perhaps you haven't seen.
Maybe it's better when it isn't
one of the
live.
things that I'm excited to show you,
And it's just
this
pre-recorded.
is probably
I
my
think
favourite thing
that's
of the entire preview.
a better vibe.
But following hot on the heels of the release of Saturnine is a really impressive new kit. Perhaps we can roll the footage for that now.
So another kit. So there is a tank. Okay. No, we need to remind everyone that if Istvan happened, never forget Istvan. Either of them. Are they having technical problems, or are they just like, it ended and we didn't cut cameras? Okay. Was the introduction of Cathay into Old World like something that came out of left field? Was that something new and interesting? That did look like a big tank.
This is unquestionably my thing I'm most excited about.
I'm
I
not
have
so
loved
up on
the
my
Legion
Horus Heresy
Bellblade
tanks.
since I first saw one way back
Besides
when
a Land
Cordra
Raider.
first released one in beautiful
And a
Cordra
Rhino.
resin. This is
And a
an
Predator.
all-new multi-part plastic version of that same glorious Space Marine Legion super heavy tank, and I could not be more excited. Here
So
we
it's a
go.
plastic
The real
super
thing is
heavy.
like 300 tons of armored fury, powered by an enormous atomantic reactor. This thing is
The
rocking
Fellblade.
2 accelerator cannons. You can rip a Titan's guts out with those things. It has weapon mounts.
So it's meant
that you
to
can
look
see on it.
like,
So it's got the
I guess, the
demolisher
IS-2
cannon mounted in the
with
front.
the twin cannons,
Those heavy bolters in
the
the front
Russian
can
tank.
be swapped out. It's got. You can see here some of the options, right? So you can swap out the heavy bolters on the sides for las cannons. You've got a heavy flamer option for the front. This thing is just a battleship.
Oh, gotta have
with
the heavy
tracks,
bolters, though.
Armored Fury incarnate, and I could not be more excited. I want one now.
I mean, you can't have one right now, Adam, but you can have one
so
fairly
close
soon.
to it is
You
the
can have one
problem.
fairly soon. Here it is. It is. You get a sense of just how big this thing is.
Yeah,
but
it's
just
a
to
big
give
tank.
You, even more of a sense of it.
But if
we
they
have
make them
brought
so
along,
big,
its
then
little brother.
toy shop tanks
Look at this.
tend to
Trundling
look
on,
like the same size
Space left. We have
and level.
a Predator, and you get a sense of just how big the Legion Fellblade is.
See, you can
compared
see
to
how I
what is
confuse
a,
one
you
for
know, a
the
fairly
other.
typical size tank.
It's
in
got
games of,
heavy bolter
Horus
sponsons.
Heresy.
It has a
And if
cannon
I
on the
lift it
top.
up
It's got the
slightly, you'll
slopey
notice that the Predator is
dome
ever so
turret.
slightly shorter
It's
than
the
the
same
entire
thing.
length of the accelerator cannons on this. But you can imagine one of these Fellblades leading like a pack of smaller Space Marine tanks around. Obviously, it shares the sort of similar silhouette and design styles, obviously from the same STC source, but it is an order of magnitude more impressive in terms of its firepower and its just sheer mass, isn't it?
Yeah, I am just giddy
Okay,
about
it's a
this.
big
bit
tank.
too excited, maybe, but in all
I
of
think
the
at
best
some point they
ways.
become unwieldy.
Such a great looking kit, and I can't wait to get my hands on one.
Loads of really
it's based on the
lovely
Baneblade. That
big
makes
areas
sense.
of
Yeah,
it
I
as
wanna
well
see it
to
next
put
to
your
the
heraldry
Baneblade.
on. So I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
the guys have done an excellent job painting this. I think
I'm
the
learning
Iron
more
Warriors
about
colours coming
Horus
through really
Heresy
nicely
from
there.
you than I
If
am
you're a
from these
painter
guys.
And you want a model to show off your painting skills on, this is a nice one to do it.
Yeah,
Show off your
absolutely.
painting skills. Sprayed
obviously we love
silver.
the
Looks
transfers.
done.
Saturnine, I put the transfer sheet somewhere else, but Saturnine has a transfer sheet in it with 1,172 individual transfers on. Some of them are very, very tiny. Some of them are like big enough
There's
to be decorating your
probably
Saturnine
a
Dreadnought.
Legends
Some of them are
data sheet
knee
or
pads, squad
similar
Yeah,
for them.
absolutely. So, there we go.
Because there is
There
the
we go.
Legends of
Coming
the
in stage
Horus
left.
Heresy
Beautiful.
PDF that you can look at.
So I always get a bit overexcited about transfer sheets because I can't do freehand to save my life. So this is where it's at if you're looking to detail your models.
Yep, those
As you'd
sure are
expect
some
from Saturnine and
transfers.
the theme of the box, these focus very heavily on the Iron Warriors and the Salamander's Legions. But even if
We're
they're not
really
renowned,
milking the
there's so many
transfers.
unusual markings on it, you know, like tactical and veteran and whatever, that you're going to have a good time.
There's some quite useful markings for any legion there. You've got like squad markings and
100%.
you know, tactical and elite and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
So
Ooh, some of them have
we're
numbers
still
like
not done yet. There
I
are still
and
new
I.
and exciting things for us to show and share with you. But before we do that, let's jump across back to Question Corner with our Lore Master and see if there's any questions we need to address.
There are indeed. There's a lot of people asking very
So the
specific
Lore Master is
questions,
just
like
the guy that
army
reads the
building,
book.
about specific rules like instant death balances. You guys are going to have an awful lot of articles going up on Warcom soon, aren't you?
Yes, so there are obviously quite a lot of rule changes across the new edition. We aren't going to be able to cover all of them here. What we can
Are we
say
going to
is
mention
that
any of them?
We will cover lots of the rules changes in articles on the Warhammer community website.
No, they're not going to
over
mention
the
any
coming
of them.
weeks. So keep your
They're
eyes
going to
posted
say,
there,
read
and
the
there'll
Warhammer
be
community later
all
on.
the nuance of how all these different changes are going to affect your games.
There's a lot of people asking, is the box going to be a range item?
So yes, it is. So there will be
Range items, fancy words for will I be able to buy it for a long time, right? And the answer is yes. It's going to be a permanent item of the
Oh, good. It's
Warhammer
not
range.
a
It will sit on the
temporary,
web store
limited
and
time
hopefully
only,
local hobby
only
stores
available
and,
for 1 month.
Games
FOMO,
Workshop,
get it now or
yeah,
get it
Warhammer
never.
shops. You showed my age there, didn't I, Craig?
There's a host of people asking about base sizes. I think in particular the Terminators and the Dreadnought.
I knew base sizes was coming, and I was ready for it 10 or 15 minutes ago. There's loads of bases in the box. The Dreadnought comes on a 100mm base. I think the
100mm.
Terminators are on 60s.
Yeah,
Might
I
be
mean,
on
they look
50s.
like they're on 60s because the other Terminators are on 40.
Try and confirm it for you later, but I wouldn't want to bet my life on it right now.
50s.
Are they 50s? There we go.
All right, 50mm.
When is it coming out?
We don't have a release date we can share with you today, but
no
we will
release
be
date.
talking about it.
So
it wasn't quite
some months from now,
fair.
usually
And just to be
June.
clear, everything is going to be available at launch that we've shown off today, except for that Fellblade.
everything so far except that Fellblade.
Absolutely. That's quite exciting. Right. Okay. Thank you for those questions. Next, we're going to show you some new miniatures, but before we do, we would like to show you a teaser of something you'll have never ever seen before. This is a clip, a trailer, if you like a preview.
Exclusive extra.
Exclusive extra, that'll do. From the upcoming Kill Lupercal animation that comes out next week.
That's true.
I assume this is a Warhammer Plus thing. Oh yes, it's about a Titan Legion trying to kill Horus.
Taking ground fire, my princeps.
Voids to full!
Diverting power. Voids at full radiance. Limited feet from the targeters, my princeps.
I have it.
Ground targets identified. The traitor 16th, my princeps. Sons of Horus.
Traitor bastards.
Ooh,
Closing target
swearing.
solutions.
No need. Autoloaders.
Priming, princeps.
Brace!
Nice music.
That was awesome. She might have the best job in the Imperium.
It's up there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Certainly.
really
Titan
good.
Princeps.
Eddie, what can you tell us about Kill Lupercal?
Yeah, so that was Kill Lupercal. That is
think
the
we're allowed
very
to
first
spell, like,
Horus Heresy animation
after
on its
an
way
hour,
for
so it's
Warhammer
fine.
TV for Warhammer Plus subscribers, and that will be available to watch next week. The
Yeah, it's
first
a
episode.
Warhammer Plus thing.
Nice. Yeah, and the plot is set during the Siege of Terror on Terror itself.
That's right, yeah. So in the closing hours of the greatest battle in human history, as the last loyal Titans march out
So
into
the
the
greatest
field
battle
to
in
try and
human
claim some
history is the
semblance
Siege of Terror.
victory
So that may be
from
next
a
edition of
hopeless
Horus Heresy.
siege.
Sounds awesome. Perfect. Right. We promised you
Well, we've
that there would
already
be
done
a few
Imperial
exciting
Fists.
extras that we would close out the show with. And so what we've got
Ooh, we're
is
coming
a
to the
little bit of
end.
a preview of things that are yet to come. We do have a need to apply a little bit of caution here. These things are a few months out after the other side of Saturnine.
So
we'll show
3
you
months
on the
after this
proviso
comes
you
out.
don't
So you're looking
harass
at
the
6
social
months
media
from now.
team
So
too hard.
November.
Yeah, that's
Probably
the deal. Right?
November.
So we'll show you the stuff a little bit earlier than we might normally. but you're not allowed to pester the social media team every day about when they're going to come out. That's the deal. And if you're not okay with that deal, you can stop watching.
Yeah,
but if you do
absolutely.
want to see some cool heresy stuff, then stay tuned and we'll show you it.
Well, in that case, we should start with some things that maybe people have guessed are coming based on a couple of previews on Warcom with the Tarantula turret.
Yes, so this is the Legion
Another
Tarantula. This is an
Tarantula?
automated weapon platform that the Space Marine Legions can
smaller.
drop in from orbit alongside things like Droppods and other orbital attack.
And the awesome new
things.
Arachne.
And the
How
awesome
long
new
before
Arachne,
you
it's
can
the
wear
little
one of
brother
them on your
The
shoulders?
Arachne Quad Accelerator platform that comes in the Saturnine box. So if you do pick up a Saturnine box, you can supplement it with a few of these. It comes with a variety of lethal weapons. Some classics return, including your
Heavy
las cannons and heavy
bolters.
bolter options. But you've also
Las
got a
cannons.
snazzy new Volkite option and a melter option in case you want to drop in and melt some tanks.
The Volkite does look really
The
good. doesn't
Volkite
it?
is the best one, I think. I mean, obviously,
Sure you
they're
want
all
your
great, but my favourite's the Volkite.
stationary weapon platform to have
Aesthetically
some
hard to beat.
range.
It's
So I'm
not
never
the only
fine on
new thing that we're
certainly not.
able
Melter
to
guns
sort of
for
hint
them.
at. Here we have the rapier batteries.
Yeah, so there's a variety of different guns you can kit out your rapier batteries with. And there are two
Cute
kits
rapiers.
on the way. One of the kits gives you graviton and quad
Gotcha,
heavy
quad
bolter
heavy bolters.
options.
Yep.
The quad
We've
heavy
seen
bolter,
these
I think,
before.
just
They're pretty
looks
good.
Phenomenally
Imagine
cool.
that
right?
rolling down the corridor of a Mortalis zone and
Yes.
just absolutely...
If the heavy
Maybe you're
bolters
just trying to
rotated
defend,
and the battle
Mortalis
sisters
with
could
one
have
of those,
them,
like,
you
round
could
the
call
corner
it
and
St.
I picked the
Catherine's
wrong-
Wheel.
I picked the wrong corridor. Yes, but those are the two
Repurposes
ways you
Grog
can build
tanks?
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The crew that come with it are particularly cool. They've got lots of really nice little touches, including things like scanners and tech.
So what
and,
mark armor is that?
targeting.
Is that
Almost some
second edition
Tech Marine
armor as
vibes
well?
on these guys,
Yeah,
isn't
and some
there?
of the
Those
helmets are a
helmets.
little bit Tech Marine, aren't they? So certainly morphed into Tech Marines by the time they've gone through a few STCs and millennia on the way
love
to
it. They look
Warhammer
really great.
40,000. A couple of other ways these can be built as well. There's two kits on the way, with depending on how you want to equip them. This one comes with a quad launcher or a laser destroyer. So
I don't think they'd be Mark
basically,
5 heresy stuff.
whatever you want to shoot at, there's probably a Legion Rapier that can
Mark
help you do
4
it.
sounds about right.
The Rapier Laser Destroyer has
the
like
tiny,
a
like,
long
knee
history of
pads.
just blasting armor to pieces. I'm a big fan.
You want like a Cyclops
Now,
demolition
they
vehicle?
also
This
have
looks about right.
Group of Space Marines who control them. There you are, lovely and beautiful. But I'm ready to go to the next thing, which
Nice
is
that the cables look like the
Mark
I4
II,
symbol.
Legion Assault Marine. I've been very excited about this since they first showed it to me.
I mean, they're
earlier
pretty
on
easy to
today.
make out the current.
And it's
I
great.
hope they don't
He looks
retire the
like he
current
means
jump
business,
pack
doesn't he?
Marines
So
because
it's
they're
not
very
just
good
a
for
Space
their
Marine with a jump
cost.
pack. They've made
It's like
some
10
other,
for
modifications
£40.
as well. You can see that his armor's sort of beefed up a little bit.
I
The
saw
jump
your
pack is
lowdown. I
absolutely
saw it. It was
enormous.
about
It looks like a
Titans being
jetpack
crucified.
lifting that kind of
I was
ton of
learning.
Space Marine right into the middle of the enemy forces.
I watched
The
C.R.
chain
Smith.
axe
I
is
saw you. I saw you.
huge.
Don't
can-
worry.
and it's like the size of a man, right? So you can imagine
That is
that
a
coming
bit
down
too
and
big,
just
isn't it?
ripping
Can you,
stuff
can you
to pieces.
imagine?
But if you want a
inviting somebody
berserker,
into
con berserkers,
compliance
there you
during
go.
the Crusade. Hi, we're here to invite you into the Imperium. Would you like to comply? My chain axe is bigger than you.
I think you would. I think you definitely
I'm
join,
all
right?
about compliance at that
So
point.
these are on the way, a little way off, but they give you another way to put assault troops into your force.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you've gone for your kind of like Mark 2s and 3s, very brutal looking armor patterns.
Sure. Speaking of Mark II and 3 and brutal armor patterns, one of the most exciting things you're going to see today, I imagine the chat has just gone wild. Everybody loves the Space Marine Legion breachers.
Yeah.
And they are coming in plastic. This is a Mark III Legion breacher.
Were the breachers
He's got
not
that
already in
iconic
plastic? I thought
shield.
they were already out in
He's got
plastic. Were they previously
bolter
resin?
with a drum mag because reloading is hard when you're holding a shield. And just that brutalist look that comes with the iron
Berserkers
armor.
on a
I love
plane,
it.
just
Very
flying
exciting.
berserkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they look great. I think it's an upgrade as well, so you can potentially mix with different armor marks, but there is something about the mark.
Ah, they
So
were a resin
I use
upgrade kit
breachers
before.
in
Okay,
my
that makes a bit
current
more
Dark
sense.
Angels army,
Because I'd
and
seen
they
people
are
3D
great.
printing
They're
them,
brilliant for locking down areas.
and I
in
wasn't
the
sure
Talisman
if they
or
were
for just
doing
dying
resin
slowly
versions of a
on
plastic thing.
I think that it always looks so
But it
cool
makes
because
sense if
they've
it was
got that
resin to
huge
resin.
piece of heraldry on the front, so you can just paint them and make them look amazing. And even just like if you just put a
I
splash
think
of colour
they
across
look
it and
very
transfer,
good
they
as
look
like
immediately
Death Watch
cool.
veterans
All
with
I've done
shields
in
and
mind
bolt
is this one
guns.
is beautiful, obviously, with the incredible studio paint job. Now, it's mostly Space Marines. Oh, we did that before. Here we go. This
That's a
is a
Volkite.
Space Marine still.
Yeah, there's more Space Marines on the way. We're only going to show
Space
a little bit of
Marines?
this guy, but
In
here's
the
a
Space
Volkite
Marine
gun.
game? I am
Obviously,
so
bolters
surprised.
And disintegrators are great, but Volkite is another one of the staples of the Horus Heresy. But who is carrying this one? We're not going to tell you who it is, but feel free to speculate away.
It's
This
a
is
character,
another Space Marine
maybe
plastic on the
one
way.
of the people who is involved in the Horus
cool.
Heresy.
Now, as I said, it's not just Space Marines.
Are the
in
Iron
Horus Heresy,
Warriors?
Even though it's mostly Space Marines. Here's a look at something that's coming from the Forge worlds, maybe Mars.
There we go. So, yes, this is a Mechanicum thingy of some sort.
It looks
I'm
like
not gonna
a
show you the whole
Skitarii
model, but
man.
just in case you thought we'd forgotten about the.
I think that was meant to be.
Don't worry, there are more things on the way.
Absolutely, a little
Pollux,
tease.
yeah,
of something
Pollux,
yet to
maybe,
come.
maybe.
And speaking of teasers yet to come, and so that the talons of the Emperor
But
fans
this is a fancy
are not
looking
left
guy.
out, behold, this is a beautiful Guardian spear for an Adeptus.
Yeah, that's a Guardian spear.
Custodes model. It's a new model. It's
character
a plastic model,
for a
and
unit.
That's all we're going to tell you.
That's all they're going to say. Okay.
I'm quite excited though. I want the Custodian players to get their.
Yeah, we just didn't want you to think we'd forgotten about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is.
So 6 months from
everything.
now, there will be
We have
one
shown
more
you
Custodes.
All of our things. We have previewed all of our previews, and we hope you've had a nice time.
Most importantly, Adam, have you picked your Legion?
That is a good question. If I'm honest, my T-shirt and my hazard stripe on my laptop are probably an indicator that my mind was at least partially made up. I believe I'm going to go for the 4th Legion and start some Iron Warriors. I think it will work really nicely with a lot of the things that are coming out. You know, that sort of heavy armor, the breaches, all of those things. I think it'll be a good time.
Let us know in the chat if you have picked a Legion for your for the new edition of the Horus Heresy and what colour you'll be painting your Saturnine box set.
So,
Okay.
when this stream is done, if you are thirsty for more Warhammer entertainment, do not necessarily
Go
just
to the
leave.
Warhammer drinking
we'll be
pool.
throwing
Get your
the stream
Warhammer
back
there.
To our colleagues over in the US who are currently at the Warhammer Open Dallas. There's going to be some incredible content there, including masterclass level painting from Golden Demon.
Do you all have like your favourite Legion for Horus Heresy?
Experts do
Because I just use my
sort of keep up the
Chaos Space
Warhammer
Marines
action, then you'd be
that I
very
have for
welcome to hang
40k
around and
in
stay.
Horus Heresy, even though they're
If
Black
you want
Legion
to
and
see
they're black,
anything,
which they shouldn't
again,
be at
that
the
you've
time,
seen
but
here on
that's
the
what I
stream,
use.
well, you can just
And my
replay the
Imperial
stream,
Fist as well, because
or
I
you
have
can
so
head
many
over to
guys with bolt guns, because they're
warhammercommunity.com.
Imperial Fists.
That's where all of the articles
What
about all
legions
of these
have you
things
got?
will be. So you can.
What
watch
legion
the
you
videos
play is
back,
probably a
you
better
can
question
get a
than where are
reminder
you
of
in
all
the
things
world.
we've said. You can watch that amazing new cinematic trailer all over again, and we'll be updating that website with new articles over the coming weeks. So it really is the place to be. You can also engage with us on our socials. We've got Facebook and Instagram, and all of the videos will live on YouTube as well. So there is a great chance to go and relive all of this stuff, see your favourite things, get a close-up look at those pictures if we move them too fast.
Nitrous Field Knights? Yeah, that's an option.
And really fill your boots.
Custodes players have,
now,
well, the same
what remains for
units.
us to do is to thank everybody out there, all of you who have come and joined our stream, for spending some time with us, and hopefully you're as excited about the new Horus Heresy edition
Raven
and
Guard,
Saturnine
Blood
as we are.
Angels, and Fun
Thanks
Militia.
to Alex over in Question Corner, who has done a wonderful
Oh yes,
job
I do have all of
keeping
my
us in
Chaos
line
Cultists
and,
that can
answering
work
your
as
questions.
militia.
Thank you, Eddie.
That's quite all right, Adam. I would have just been talking about Warhammer on my own if you hadn't come.
Exactly so. So we will leave you with one more look at that cinematic trailer. But for now, thank you, everyone. Good night.
Is it the same cinematic trailer? Another cinematic trailer? It's the same cinematic trailer.
I was there when he painted this. An oddity among his
So
schematics
it's not
and
quite like the
calculations.
Kill Team thing where they play it over and over again.
Yet, this seemed to help him. A way he could express the enormity of his plan. Not if the legions are successful.
Yeah, sign language time.
It depends on how deep the rot goes.
Space Wolves in 30k? I don't see why you couldn't use your Bolter Marines as the new Grey Hunters, because they just have bolt guns. Okay, so that's the big new Sakaran tank. Oh no, Fellblade tank. That's the quad launcher defense platform, which is very Iron Warriors. Which gets not blown up because it has a force field, and the tank gets blown up instead. Okay. That's a Land Raider that you don't get. Though there's some tactical marines with the disintegration guns that shot his friendly servo skull. That's a Salamander getting back up, or an Iron Warrior getting back up. It's too dark to tell. There's just some shooting. There's the Terminators coming in, but they're only in squads of 3 when they should be in squads of 5. Disintegrated cannons going off. So the Salamanders are still teleporting in more people to save them in the drop site massacre. Like, this is going badly. Make it go twice as badly by losing more troops. Yeah, charging the Dreadnought's a good idea. It doesn't have a fist,
The
so
attack failed.
go for it.
How many?
Half of the legions now stand with Horus.
You're surprised?
In the end, I suppose not. Do you wonder if they might be right? Many will sympathize with their rebellion.
I am the Emperor's spear. What I think doesn't matter.
The Dreadnought belly flops to kill enemies.
What now, then?
Or you could try stepping on them.
We make ready for a war that may never end.
Yeah, so the Salamanders were the rear guard, the Iron Hands were like, I'm going to go forwards and fight the Emperor's children, and the Raven Guard was stuck in the middle. Oh, I know it didn't go well for the Salamanders, it also really didn't go well for the Raven Guard. And the Iron Hands lost their Primarch, which is, I suppose, the worst option? You can see more, like watching them again on the Warhammer community. Very good. Yeah, that was about what I expected. I don't think there was anything else that was like, oh yeah, that's something that was totally new and innovative. Which I suppose isn't what we want. We want to be told that the thing that we want to have come is the thing that's arrived, and then we buy it. Like, if anything came entirely out of left field, like, there's a new alien race, but only for Horus Heresy, I don't know how many people would want to buy them. Where is... Oh, there's a little bit extra.
And there's quite a picture on it. It is mysterious, but the tale itself is not necessarily
They're still
elaborate.
talking about Horus
So
Heresy
let's
stuff.
dive right in and look at every single official mention of the Lost Primarchs in the lore
Oh
of
no,
Warhammer
right.
40,000.
I think it's an auto-playing thing.
From the
That
Great
makes sense.
Crusade to the modern...
Okay, I get it. I get it. That makes more sense. It was just the autoplay from YouTube. Yeah, I can't see them bringing out like an extra alien race that's only playable in Horus Heresy and it's around for like one edition and it has 2 kits. People might be like, oh, they were cool for like 5 minutes and then for the next 20 years they badger Games Workshop. Hey, can you expand this range? And then they won't. They'll be like, oh, what if we bring back squats? And then they do at the end of 9th edition. They're overpowered, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4 different kits and a couple of characters. Maybe we can get aliens. Seeing the Eldar, well, the Eldar are the same culturally either way. Orcs are probably different, maybe a little different, not really. I would like to see some more alien races, even just a little bit, like, okay, here's an alien race that works with the Votan. Here's another alien race for the Tau. That would be cool. Some Cabal forces, that could work. The Herod, yeah. Or we could do something set in... Well, I suppose they technically have already done the War of the Beast, since the lore for the War of the Beast was based on playing Epic in the 1990s, and the battle reports around Epic, which mostly involved the Orcs absolutely smashing the Imperial Fists, were what led to the War and the Beast, like, book series and the lore around that. Like, the Imperial Fists were broken down to, like, a man. The last man. And then the Orcs were clever for a bit. But then it didn't matter because Vulcan came back. And it seemed this whole series of, aha, you thought this was the final battle. Well, no, the next book is the final battle. Or the build-up to another final battle. And that's all we can see forever. Oh yeah, we wouldn't see Tau in Horus Heresy, but we could see the Tau expansion in 40k. They could expand into the Scouring. I don't think they'd do that. I think they're more likely to do the Siege of Terror next edition, assuming that the first edition wasn't the Siege of Terror. No, it wouldn't be because they hadn't finished the book series at that time. I'm kind of surprised this one wasn't themed around the Siege of Terror. Are there any other major events in the Horus Heresy that are as impactful as the Siege of Terra and the whole Isfahan massacre thing? There's no other big conflict. I know the legions all have their own thing. Like, yeah, you got the burning of Prospero, which is important for 2 legions. You've got the Blood Angels, which is important for, well, the Blood Angels and trying to mess around with Sanguinius and activating the Red Thirst. Not the Red Thirst, Black Rage, both of them, who's to say? Calth? But we have already done Calth. There was the board game, The Siege of Calth, which was mainly 2 legions, the Ultramarines and the Wordbearers. Imperium Secundus, how many battles and major fights were there in Imperium Secundus? Because I know it was the Dark Angels, the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, I think those 3, getting together and being like, what if we had our own empire? That would be great, but not a lot of fighting going on. Otherwise, you have some small war zones like Beta Gammon, you have Pluto, where Alfarius maybe dies. We don't know, we don't really care, he's probably dead. Ah, they did the Beta Gammon scenarios, right. Moloch, I think, has been an expansion for Imperialis. So they already got the fights on Moloch with the big titans, the smaller knights, and mainly it's around them. Yeah, they thought that the Emperor was dead, so they made their own shadow empire. But then they found out it wasn't. But they didn't really do any big fights in Imperium Secundus. There wasn't any, yes, and now we're going to absolutely crush, say, the Night Lords here. They've even done some of the, like, scouring stuff, which I think might have been in the main Horus Heresy, where they go to the Death Guard planet, and they smash up the Death Guard planet and destroy it. Erebus could be there. No, we've got the Siege of Terra for Erebus, who just needs to die. Just introduce him in 40k just to kill him off. People would be so happy. They'd be like, hey, it's that guy everyone hates, and now he's dead. Who knows? Okay. Well, we've been streaming for nearly 2 hours. Okay, 2 hours. That's not bad. That's not bad. That is a decent stream. I think I'm going to leave today's stream there because we've done all the preview stuff. We have talked briefly about the video games that are coming out, the mission deck, the balance patches. There are videos coming out from me soon. And I have 2 videos on the 2 videos on the mission deck already out. One that came out a few hours ago and one that came out yesterday. So they are available to watch on my YouTube channel. Are we good? I think we're good. Thanks for coming to my live stream. Have a great day of 40k.